Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talk and they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, peeps.
What's up, BSers?
What is up? Got a
Full studio
I
tonight.
say full house tonight. It's been a minute.
It has.
Been
Fred,
a minute.
Scott, Ryan, James, and Drew all in the house tonight. After yet another nail-biting, boring game we shouldn't have won.
Would you just take a win for a fucking win?
But a
please?
win is a win, man. It's the season of unexplainable wins continue with a big but ugly division win over the Browns.
It's a season of wins, is what I heard.
That's right. But now it's Steelers week as the Ravens travel to Heinz Field, take on a team who has their tails between their legs after an ass kicking by the Bengals.
Yeah, we can't really say much in that department
True.
either when it comes to the Bengals.
Touche.
Ryan's happy over there. The Terps are going bowling, baby.
They are.
Great performance against Rutgers. But at the same time, on the other side, men's and women's hoops hitting a few little speed bumps this week.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy, but it's caused some stir and concern. We'll put quote concern.
When
I
are
don't see
Terp
much.
fans never concerned? That's impossible.
Yeah, knowing Ryan, never.
It's pretty rough right now. I mean, this show needed to be 48 hours ago, and I would have been off the ball and telling you how great this is going to be. But the last 24 hours of Terp fan has been less than exciting.
It's going to turn into a depression cast here for Ryan in a bit. In this week's rundown, though, we see some changing on the PGA Tour as the PGA as a whole might be changing before our eyes. Some big college football coaching changes and a flurry of MLB moves, including some Oriole moves.
Breaking news. with
Breaking
Orioles.
news that just happened. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, I've been telling you for years now about the team over at MD Crash. Well, they've expanded. More lawyers handling a much broader spectrum of cases now, still handling all your auto accidents, of course, and injuries at work. But now the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon can help you with family law issues from divorce to custody to child support, anything. To even criminal cases, from traffic tickets to murder. You can now call or text 667-220-6500 anytime for any of your needs. So save this number now. Update that MD Crash number, 667-220-6500. Call or text anytime to get the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon on the case for you.
So all our murderer fans out there, you know who you are. Make sure you write that number down.
Right, exactly. All right, guys, it's time for some flock talk. As the Ravens, like I said, win another one that probably they shouldn't have won. I mean, granted, we're going to talk about it. Defensively, it was a great game. Offensively, it was a shit show, really, for both teams.
Yeah.
But right now, the Ravens sit at 8-3, on top of not just the AFC North, but on top of the AFC in a just unexplainable way. So we're going to talk a lot about that game. But before we do, there's some news that we want to cover.
There's some different things that have been going on. One of the things that kind of broke was the Packers game on December 19th has now been flexed from a 1 o'clock game to a 4:25 game.
Perfect.
And I think, you kind of summed it up by saying this really just shows you who doesn't want to see a matchup like Lamar versus A-Raj.
Yeah, this goes to show like the entertainment value of what Lamar Jackson is, not just on a local level, but on a national level. This is why I say like there's those players that are the quote unquote rock star type players, right? The players that are going to bring that national attention that not everybody gets. There's a ton of players out there right now. We could be talking about Kirk Cousins and the year he's having and the MVP type of case he's building, but nobody's talking about it because he's Kirk Cousins and he plays for the Minnesota Vikings, right?
He also shit the bed this week.
Well, yeah, he might have had a bad week this past week, but up until that he didn't.
Yeah.
But Lamar Jackson and everything he is, This is what the national audience wants to see. And again, these are two teams that are right now fighting for that #1 seed in the respective conferences. A lot of shit can change between now and then. It's only a couple weeks away, but that's how flimsy and that's how tight this playoff race is right now.
Not to mention the way that the Ravens have been winning, right? With backup guys, with guys, next man up kind of mentality. Taking that up, can they? It's kind of a test, right? Can they do what they've been doing against one of the best to ever do it?
We'll see. It's definitely going to be a fun game. I'm excited for it, and it gives me the best of both worlds. It's not that late game that I'm going to be home at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's not that early game that I got to get up at 5:30 in the morning to head down to tailgate. So this is actually a good case scenario for me.
And some QB news for the Ravens too.
Yeah, minor roster move here. We talked last week about the whole move with McSorley going out to Arizona, them signing Kenji Bahar back to the roster. Well, they have since released Bahar and replaced him with Chris Streveler, who was actually the quarterback that the Cards cut to sign McSorley. So I had to dive a little bit into this guy because I didn't know a whole lot about him. He's a dual threat quarterback, obviously, in that kind of a system out there in Arizona. That's what you need to have, just similar to here in Baltimore. He's 26 years old, played at Minnesota and South Dakota in college, went undrafted back in 2018, I believe. Played 2 seasons in the CFL for Winnipeg Blue Bombers, won the Grey Cup for them, which is the equivalent of the Super Bowl in 2019. Again, it's more of a depth piece. It gives them a little bit more security there. A guy that's obviously played professionally, even if it was on the CFL level, brings a little bit of experience.
And hey, if we get to face the Cards when it comes time, we got an ace in the back of our pocket in the playbook a little bit.
I hadn't thought about it that far, but that's very true too. So we are going to talk about this game. I talked a little bit last week about like some of the things that they were doing around the game for this. Obviously, it was a prime time Sunday night football. One of the things that I mentioned was fans were asked to get into the seats early because what they did was they were giving out bracelets. And I don't know how this, I'm asking you guys, I don't know how this came across on the TV broadcast. But in the stadium, it was freaking awesome. What they did, and I'll show it to you real quick, because I think I have it on.
They didn't, by the way, they didn't show a whole lot. Go ahead. They didn't show a whole lot when it came to the pregame ceremony. You saw little bits and pieces in the background. You couldn't really see a lot. Where you could actually look at it was following some of the media members that were taking pictures and videos from the press box during that whole thing. So it was actually, you saw more out of them than you did the national televised thing, which is crazy to me because that's a way that you can really amp up what the NFL is doing with all these virtual things and do it.
Right.
You could sell it, but you're not.
So here's what they gave away. Nothing spectacular. Doesn't have any NFL, markings on it. Doesn't have any Ravens markings on it or anything like that. What it was a light show. So again, if you didn't see it on the national television broadcast, everybody in the stadium was wearing these things, and they could light up any different color LED. And during the national anthem, obviously, it was lighting up red, white, and blue. They had to kind of cascade through the fans in a different orientation based on music and stuff. I honestly think a part of this might have been a test for like the Super Bowl. I think that's what they're going to try to do is use these for like a Super Bowl show. And this was because, again, they spent no extra money on making this Ravens branded or anything. They probably just asked, okay, anybody that's going to be on a primetime network, who wants to use these and who would be willing to give these away? And the Ravens probably signed up for it and they gave them away because they were asking for us to put these back, to give them back as we were walking out of the stadium. I was like, nope, I pay enough money for this seat that I'm going to keep it regardless. Even though it doesn't work outside of the stadium, I'm going to keep it either way. But it was just cool. Again, I don't know what you saw. They used it throughout the entire game. They did like the whole Enter Sandman song, trying to get the fans pumped up, and it's going around the stadium. And multiple times, like during commercial breaks, they would turn the lights off. So here's the players down on the field getting water and getting refreshments and shit, and they're in the complete dark, watching the lights go around the stadium. It was a really, really cool thing to see.
Well, that's pretty cool too. I mean, it's the other thing that I'm sure that it's kind of got if they have the ability to kind of determine where you are, right?
Right.
COVID, right? If there would be a huge COVID outbreak.
Well, now they know exactly where I'm at. I'm sitting in your basement right now. Go ahead,
Knock on
Ryan.
your door.
You've been holding that finger up for a minute. What do you
Oh
got?
no, it's cool. This is me. Like this is the like I told you last time we went to the Chiefs game. The night games are a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And I think you're almost there. Maybe you'll see it in this year's Super Bowl. What I'm seeing more and more from the Ravens is I think the Ravens are angling for their own Super Bowl. I think they're putting together a package to show what they can bring to a live Baltimore Super Bowl, and that's more what it is.
Right.
If you haven't seen this, Ravens social media has a 3-minute video, aerial footage of the whole intro, all the lights going on, the fireworks, everything, and it screams like this is going in a slideshow for our Super Bowl presentation.
Right.
It's a year where NFL is cutting costs everywhere, and the Ravens don't seem to be doing it. I think they're looking to get money back by going after that big fish. There's been a few cold weather Super Bowls, and I think they're ready to show off our stadium with all those new advancements.
That's a great point. Go ahead, Drew.
So I'd add to it.
You're okay.
Again? Hasn't happened in a while.
Open up, Drew.
Hey, I'll add to what Ryan's saying. I can believe that too because I know that they're, it's probably not happening, but I know, there's with the Maryland Stadium Authority, whoever's involved with it, they're trying to bring Olympics here, World Cups here, they're trying to make
showcase it.
You've had Angelo's
Yeah.
talk about making that whole area an event place, so that would make sense.
I'm totally
Yeah.
sold. I will be at every primetime game next year, 100%. It's going to probably cost me as much as it would to buy season tickets, but every primetime game I'm buying tickets because I love these night shows.
It's absolutely, again, above and beyond just the normal 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock games. That if you can get yourself to a primetime game, if you're only going to go to 1 or 2 games a year, try to schedule it around a primetime game.
And this, just the elevation of this game, the meaningfulness of the conference, the division play, the fact that it is the night game, doing the extra special stuff. You have Marshall Yanda being recognized, which I was a little disappointed in the TV cast just because they showed him for a minute, but they didn't really go beyond that.
So
and it didn't seem like they did a whole lot for him at the stadium anyway.
The TV broadcast never does. So every week they do a legend of the game, and they bring out a legend, and it's it can be anybody from any year, Steve Smith, Ray Lewis, it can be anybody, and it's literally just to get the crowd fired up before kickoff. They announce their name, they come out, they wave their hand, they kiss babies.
This is the first time that fans have seen him, and we've seen him. Since he retired. So
it was cool to see Yanda out there. Man,
Looks
the
like he'll play tight end again.
The transformation that he made is unreal. You think of Matt Burke and the center that was for the Chargers that had the same transformation as well. It's impressive what he's done, but man, could this offensive line surely use a freaking Marshall Yanda right now?
they definitely could. And, he wasn't the only former Raven in attendance. Obviously, Ray coming out with Marshall. We did learn from Harbaugh that he did talk to the team on Saturday night.
Yeah.
So talking with them and just kind of getting them fired up and really happy to see him. He did question during his presser. He's like, when is he going to the Ring of Honor? And they were like, we do one a year. He's next year. So there you go. There's no surprise there. I mean, he should be in the Ring of Honor. He's probably, for most people, he's a top 10 Raven.
He's a shoo-in for Ring of the Honor, and in my opinion, he's a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. First ballot, I don't know because he's a guard, but he should be.
All right, well, let's shift gears to the game itself, and we're going to shift something. We had used to do this with the game balls, and James was the one that kind of in our chat said, you know what? We need to bring that back.
I'm super excited for it.
So, so we're gonna try something out. If these guys can keep their hands to themselves only when it needs, then we'll be good. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna talk the game like normal. But you might hear one of these. And if you do, that means somebody.
Hey, in fairness, when I had to slide mine back, I did it as nicely as possible, so I didn't accidentally hit it. I held on to it real tight and made sure I put it down nice and gently.
As you can tell, Daddy's not into it.
I don't know how much I trust you guys with these bells, but we'll see.
Prove him wrong, guys.
So,
Prove him wrong. I got a good idea here.
The whole point of this is for us to be able to chime in mid-show as we're talking about players to give out game balls.
Genuine reactions. When we mention your game ball player or coach's name or whoever you're giving your game ball to, when we mention that, you hit your bell, and then you get to take the floor of why they deserve that game ball.
All right, so let's get into the game. We'll talk quarterback play because I don't think anybody's dinging a bell on a quarterback play in this game because it was not good on either side of the ball.
A couple plays and that's it.
Either side of the ball. Listen, I am the biggest Lamar defender. You all know that. I'm one of his biggest fans, but I'll call a spade. He played a shit game, right? He threw 4 interceptions in this game, very un-Lamar-like. To defend him to a degree, 2 of them weren't his fault, weren't as bad as the other 2.
2 of them really were.
Yeah, 2 of them were 100% on him. But you had the one that was a pinball interception. He was trying to get to Andrews that ended up going off of Rashad Bateman unexpectedly that kind of misdirected it. Then you had the one I know Drew was super upset about in the group chat. That,
the one that hit the ground? Yeah.
Harrison. I mean, listen, Harrison made a hell of a dive on the play. He made a hell of a play, but if you watch the replay, and we could clearly see it in the stadium as well, the ball is trapped against the ground, but they let that call stand as an interception. So, again, not a great game for Lamar. It's definitely, and he owned that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even in his body language on the sideline. We're going to talk
afterwards.
We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. His ownership in the tweet afterwards, and then all the players kind of coming to his defense. Just goes to show you how much this team respects him as a leader. But again, a bad game for Lamar.
I think the thing is that you have to look at those interceptions came early, and that's what hurt the most, right?
Yeah.
Three of the 4 came in the first half.
Yeah, second quarter. They were all like within a segment of 5 throws. He had 3 interceptions. It was insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. It didn't really work. You know, one of the things that did work was the saving grace touchdown. That was that pass to the end zone with Andrews. You know, he's buying time, fading away from Myles Garrett. You had Clowney, who had fallen down, was looking like he was going to come after him. Clowney's so pissed afterwards, throws his helmet.
I was going to say, did you see the video after? It's hilarious to me. They showed an aerial shot of it, and you got Myles Garrett coming up to Lamar and shaking his hand and congratulating him for making his play. And you got Jadeveon Clowney 5 yards away, throwing his helmet all pissed off at the world.
It was.
But yeah, it was an impressive play.
Well, and that's the thing.
All right, here we go. Game ball.
If nobody was gonna do it, I was just kind of gonna sit back and let people go off. But if we're gonna let Andrews slip by,
I was
with
gonna
this
go it
many
later, but go
people,
ahead.
I just thought where we start talking about something.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I mean, Andrews had the absolute catch of the season. I mean, we would have got the yards either way, thanks to a defender abusing the absolute hell out of him.
Yeah.
But that one-handed grab, 65 yards on the field, when you can see the trust in Lamar going, I'm having a terrible day, but something's got to work, and he just heaves a ball 65 yards. Not to mention the touchdown pass, where it was basically the same thing. It was a desperation heave off his back foot, and Andrews got back to the ball for that touchdown. Andrews can have my game balls 6 days of the week. I was going to sit back and maybe take a coaching staff that I thought you guys would grab all the good ones, but since nobody said it.
Nah, and to your credit on that, like the thing with Andrews, and I've said this since day one, and this is why the relationship between him and Lamar works so well, is Andrews works off script. If the play breaks down, Andrews is looking for the open space. He's coming back to Lamar. In the past, now granted, the wide receivers have been better this year with that, and I think a lot of that goes to the coaching, Keith Williams, T. Martin, and all those
But
guys
with him,
working
it's not.
with him.
He's always been an effort guy.
Andrews has always been that guy for Lamar, and I think that's a big part of the reason that he is a security blanket. Andrews is playing really, really good football right now. And yes, to your point, I mean, he had a great game. He was about the only guy offensively for me that stood out for the Ravens in this game.
A+ for effort, and he was one of the guys that I was back and forth on, giving him the game ball. So I'm glad that you did, because he was definitely there. Weren't all 4 interceptions targeted to Andrews. I think one of them may not have been. But
no,
I can't remember.
I'm pretty positive she's right. I think all 4 of those were targeted at Andrews.
Well, nobody else could catch the ball, so he was the only one he was throwing to.
None of the interceptions that ended up happening were on Andrews, but yes, they were all targeted to Andrews.
So talk about it for a second. Yeah. People are putting the one on Lamar, the pinball one on Lamar, right? And you brought that up, but to kind of take a step back for that, one of the things I think we saw in that play with Bateman was a little bit of the still learning. Yeah. Right? Knowing what's around you, knowing what routes you're it's not always just about what route you're running. It's about what route guys are running behind you. Because I give him an A in effort of thinking he had a shot at catching that ball.
If he would have come down with that ball, oh my God, it was shot out of a cannon. It got on him so fast that he had no shot at even touching it, but somehow he got his hands on it.
He got his hands on it. And look,
it wasn't that hard a deflection either. It didn't really squirt up like you sometimes see when you're trying to get that fast.
It bent his fingers back, and he's
down for him to be able to
Jameis went up for it, right? And it was head high. It wasn't like he jumped up to try to go get it. It was head high. Yeah. So reasonably, he thinks it's there. But that's that situational awareness of knowing that the guy behind you and Andrews is also going in a crossing route. And it's tough. Is that maybe a little bit on Lamar for not paying attention that he's got two guys crossing at the same exact time and you're throwing it head high to both of them?
Lamar made a split-second decision. He was throwing that into a tight window. Even if that gets through there untouched, it's a super tight window. He's got guys on both sides of him, so it was a split-second decision. He didn't have time to evaluate where Bateman was. He went through his read. Andrews was open. He made the throw. And this is just part of the learning curve, to your point, with Bateman. As great as he's been and as good as he's going to be for years to come for this team, you're going to have little hiccups like this along the way, and it is what it is.
If he catches that ball, we're talking about him and Andrews for catch of the year.
For sure. 100%, for sure. We talk about Lamar giving 4 interceptions, everybody wanting to give him crap for that, and rightfully so. He did have a bad game, like we said. But I got to give a shout out to this guy on Twitter who came up with a hard pull, an old pull on this. Shout out to AXL6719 on Twitter for this beaut of the more you know kind of tweet. Lamar threw 4 interceptions, but the Ravens still win. Did you know exactly 51 years ago, November 29th, 1970, Johnny Unitas threw 5 interceptions, but the Baltimore Colts still won 21-20. So we all know what kind of prowess that, Johnny Unitas had as an NFL quarterback and how much he's respected along these lines. This happens. Players, even the best of the best quarterbacks are going to have nights like this. You got to put it in perspective. Lamar, coming back from being sick, hadn't practiced a whole lot in 2 weeks at all, really. Very limited amount of practice time. I expected a rough game. And again, against a team with that kind of talent on the outside edges, and Clowney and Myles Garrett, coming back to that in your first game from coming back after being sick, it was a tough challenge. And he wasn't up to it.
No. James.
I was just going to say what Fred always, because I love Lamar, but I know how to pump the brakes. And I thought Fred was going to say it a little bit earlier, but he got to it by saying, he hasn't played 17 days since the last time he's been on the field.
Right, exactly.
He's a little rusty. Getting away from the common cold or whatever, the Delta, any of that. I don't care, but he was seeing ghosts out in the field. I don't know.
It happens. Yeah. It happens. Somebody brought it up in the chat room. David says Brett Favre. Brett Favre had many games like that, right? So things like this are bound to happen.
We're not going to let the chat go under the radar.
Okay. What happened?
Someone in this room.
Talk about the group chat.
Yeah. Someone in our group chat thought there was regression.
Yeah. I'm just saying there's a lot of mistakes being made.
I think we need an explanation of why
I'm going to need an explanation because regression is a strong word.
I'm just the biggest fan of yours, but call it when we see it. There is a lot of regression. I think we're making a little bit more of excuses for the practice stuff. I get it. I get it, but at this time of year, there's a lot of teams that kind of they're not really practicing in full because of injuries. This is kind of making me feel like early last year when before they went on the run against sub-500 teams, by the way, he's looking exactly like that was happening, and there was a sickness in there, too, on top of it. And then the sub-500 teams. So now you're going to be going against really good teams. You're doing the same shit, and he's practicing. Is it practice?
But here's the thing.
I love him.
I understand that, but
I feel bad saying regression. I'm just saying.
Regression is a strong word, and this is the only reason that it's even getting brought up, because regression is a strong word, and here's my combat to that. Lamar is playing with half of his offensive line. He's playing with 0 running game, right? But yet, prior to coming back this week, he was on pace for career high in passing yards, career high in rushing yards, and with an 7-3 records prior to last night. I don't see any regression. I see a lot of progression, and he's shown a lot of kahunas this year, because one of the knocks on Lamar coming into the season was, can he play from behind? Can he win from behind? How many times has he proven that he can do that this year? So to use the word regression is strong. So, I get it. It was a terrible game. I understand, and this is why I had to get brought up.
Here's the other. I start to worry a lot more than I used to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year, I was the same one giving excuses. COVID happened, and there was rough patches, and then you look good, down the stretch, and it made me a believer going into that playoff game.
It's like
the picks. I know, like one hit the fucking ground, so it still pisses me off that it did hit the ground. But it's just, 2 picks is one thing. 4 picks sucks, but at the same time, what is? I'm gonna fudge the numbers, but in 4 games, he's thrown 2 interceptions or more.
Right.
They won all 4.
Yep.
So they're still finding ways to win. He's still finding ways to win.
And that's exactly my point, right? And that's the thing. Going into this year, and if I'm being 100% honest with you, going into this year, I legit had 0 expectations for this team with all of the injuries that they had going into this year. Yeah. And as much and as highly as I put Lamar on that pedestal, I just didn't think that he himself single-handedly could yield this team to what they've done so far. No. And I'm not talking about just your average run-of-the-mills teams. He's beaten the Chiefs, he's beaten the Colts, he's beaten the Chargers, all 3 teams that are in position for a playoff spot this year, single-handedly.
So I'm going to bring up something, and Garnett, you hit the nail on the head with your statement. We have not scored in the first quarter since the Chargers game.
Slow starts,
we have
100%.
struggled with slow starts this year. But when do we see the success, right? We see the success later in the game when Lamar has decided, I'm putting this shit on my shoulders. So here's my question that everybody should be thinking about. Are you going to put the first quarter stuff on Lamar? Or are you going to put the first quarter stuff on the guy that comes out with the same goddamn schemes every freaking week during the first quarter? It's the same thing every week. It doesn't change. And that's part of the problem about why you can't score in the first quarter, because the scheming doesn't change. The scheming doesn't give you the chance to do it. It's almost at times as if Roman is play calling so conservatively just to get the read. He knows that Lamar can come out with these comebacks, but he wants to play call and get the read to try to read the defense. I get doing that a little bit, but there's a pattern here.
And I agree with you. And a big part of why these slow starts are there is because we don't have that running game. Because historically, over the last couple of years, when we've been successful and we've been such a dominant offense and we've been jumping out to these guys, is because we, right out of the gates, run the ball down their throat, tire the defense out because we're controlling time of possession, we're keeping the defense on the field, then Lamar opens up the passing game. We're still trying to do that by running the ball, but we're not running the ball effectively. We're not getting as many first down conversions. And then we do this conservative pass game until they get into almost like a panic mode of, all right, fuck, we're down. We're just going to open up the playbook and whatever happens, happens. But then Lamar is Lamar at that point, and he starts making these throws, and he has the time and the ability to come back.
That just kind of opens up the question. Go ahead, James.
Well, just to point out, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but what we saw this Sunday night is great and all. We're going to win these games against these subpar teams, but when it comes to playoffs, we're going to be in the playoffs. I don't think we're going to have the number 1 seed, but we're going to get our first win in the playoff, the first round. But after that, when you're playing when you see when the Packers come into town and you throw 4 interceptions, you're not winning games like that.
Yeah, you're not going to win most games. You throw 4 interceptions.
I understand, but you're not going to win. You're not going to win games to get you by the second round of a playoffs. This team is. I'm sorry, it's not. It's
turnovers matter in January.
It's not going to.
Well, 100%. They matter any game. But my point is, you're not going to win most football games
with 4
interceptions, and you just found a way to win a division game with 4 interceptions.
That's
so
great.
Let's let Ryan chime in over here. He's itching.
I just wanted, you stole a little bit of my thunder. I had wrote down Garnett's comment for the for the social media shout out, because it's exactly what my wife sent me mid game. I pulled the text up right here. So it's that obvious that the slow starts are happening that Kaylee is texting me during the game and says, do the Ravens ever do anything in the first half? I don't know how Fred hasn't gone crazy every game. It's the same BS.
It is.
It's that obvious.
Again, I contribute that to the 0 production in the run game. That is always what we've been built around since Lamar's been here. This is the first year that we've had that challenge. And again, with the injuries that we have on the offensive line, it doesn't help the run game.
But in that first half, you're also not seeing the design runs for Lamar. Those aren't coming out until the second half most of the time. I think
you're still seeing runs by Lamar, and the sad part is
you're seeing scrambles by Lamar.
That's the struggle with this team, is that they're never going to be that dominant offense when Lamar is the best runner on this team. He has to have that complementary of running backs for this total offense, the way it's constructed right now, to be at its best.
But that's a difference, though. That's what I'm saying, is we were used to seeing a mixture, a solid mixture of designed runs for Lamar and the runs for the running backs, which is why it was so successful, because he was able to get, he had the option to give it off, he could pull it back. We saw that multiple times last year. I feel like, in my eyes, I'm not seeing as many designed runs. When he's running, he's scrambling in the first half, because that first drive is where they try to push some runs to see what's going on, try to maybe bait the defense up, and then try to force the throw, but he's not taking the hole. He doesn't start taking the holes until the second half, when he's put it on his shoulders. Again, it's one of those things. And my whole point in bringing this up was, can you really blame all the offensive struggles in this game on Lamar? Some people are. And I get to, if you look at it on paper, right, we talked about Andrews with effort. The one target that Watkins had was a crucial catch that he wound up coming down with it. We were happy with it, right? Gives us a first down. Good situation. Rashad Bateman, tough contested catches all night, right? He had the one catch that off his hands that was the issue. But the whole point of it is he's had guys around him that are being successful, and you sit there and you go, well, it's got to be Lamar. He threw the two interceptions. It's got to be on him. I don't know that you can do that.
In this game, I'm going to put more of the emphasis on Lamar. Lamar had a shit game. And I think if you ask Lamar will shoulder the blame offensively for this team.
Ask him, he already said it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, in this game, this was probably one of the more effective ground games for the team. Like, I think Devontae Freeman's severely underrated for what he's contributed considering the circumstances, right? I think he's done good. He's not averaging 5 yards a clip like Gus Edwards is and J.K. Dobbins is, but it's a tough comparison.
He's averaging 3.3.
But he's making guys miss. He's moving the chains. He's getting tough yardage. And this was a guy, again, that came in I had little to no expectations for. So in this game, you were able to run the ball effectively, which does what?
It opens up the passing game.
Well, to a degree, but more importantly, it controls time of possession. And if you look at the time of possession in this game, you're talking 37 minutes for the Ravens to 22 minutes for the Browns. That's lopsided. That's what we saw last year when we were dominating, and 2 years ago when we were dominating teams, was we were controlling time of possession. And they were able to do that in this game, which is what helped keep them in this game.
Go ahead, James.
I just want to say, for a team that carries 7 wide receivers, which I think is ridiculous, I wish Greg would sit back and watch a little bit of the 49ers, the Patriots, and see how they use certain wide receivers, in the sense you could do like a Devo with a Boykins or a Duvernay. You can put Duvernay as a running back.
Well, and Duvernay has been.
You don't need 7 wide receivers if only 3 of them are getting the ball.
I think
you're taking up roster spots.
There are definitely other ways that they could be more creative.
And to your point, I think we saw it. The 2 times in the past 3 games that they've done the jet sweep with Duvernay, he's gotten 10+ yards each time. So they utilizing that a little bit more. It's, again, the play calling, especially early, has been really, really conservative. I don't know why. 100%. I don't understand why. It needs to change. You're putting it on the run game. Yes, the run game has to do with it, but the play calling has to. You got to open up the playbook a little bit more here, because that's what opens up everything else.
All right, let's switch to the other side of the ball. You know, the dominant side of the ball, at least in this game, because we've all harped on how bad this defense has played this year, especially in the secondary. This was a game, you're going into it, you're going against one of the best running back duos in the league. Is the Browns ended up getting Kareem Hunt back.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb has been lights out this year, and he has run down our throats on multiple occasions over the years. So I did not have high expectations. On top of that, you lose Calais Campbell going into this game.
Concussion protocol.
Here we go. Calais Campbell's out. Nick Chubb is going to run all over us. And I'm going to tell you now, between Brandon Williams, Jelly, and that defensive line and the linebacker core, which we're going to talk about, they did a dominant job against this.
And Broderick Washington did a great job with this too, right? In this game, he got some more snaps in this game. Look, you talked about Chubb. Chubb was averaging 6 yards per carry prior to this game.
Yeah.
This defense held him to 2.
Yeah.
right? A third of what he's been doing.
They held him to 40 total yards. This was a team averaging 157 yards on the ground per game.
And coming into this game, Chubb was first in the league in yards per carry out of guys with 100-plus attempts.
Yep.
Lamar was like third on that list.
Yep. And not to mention, the Browns, we talked about, I was very high on this offensive line. Their offensive line has been one of the best groups in the league this year. So for our defensive line, minus one of our biggest cogs in Calais Campbell, to have this kind of game, man, it just speaks volumes. And we're to go back a step. Let's go back a level, because a guy, my game ball, Drew's game ball, is going out to this week.
Well, I'm changing it now.
All right, we can both do it.
It's yours. I got
All right,
it.
all right.
That's the rule of the game, man. You hit the bell first.
Patrick
He
Queen.
was the one talking at the time.
No, if we have three people hitting it all at the same time, then
All right,
that's
enough
fine.
about bell talk. Patrick Queen. Dominant, and we talked about him all year, and having to switch over to the will side has really changed him and his effectiveness in this defense. He doesn't have to worry about putting other people in their positions. He's not covering for anybody else. He's playing assignment football, and he's dominating. And it started right out of the gates in this game on that first drive. You know, he was timing the crosser on that. As soon as he saw the crosser run across the center, man, he dove in, timed it perfectly, got in the backfield and stopped Nick Chubb. And it didn't stop there. I mean, all game, he was making plays. He was making fundamental sound tackles in this game, right? Which is, God, one of his biggest drawbacks. But he went down. You know, he went down in the midway through this game with what looked like a pretty serious rib injury. Fought through that, showed his toughness, came back out, and hell of a game.
Well, and credit to him too, right? You're seeing in his game, you're seeing an evolution on multiple fronts.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just there, because the Ravens released, I think it was yesterday or today, the little video of him after one of Lamar's interceptions going over to Lamar and saying, "I got you. We got you.
Right.
Keep your head up. You keep these guys motivated. We got you." That's a leader.
Yeah.
That is a leader. That is a guy going over to his quarterback who usually is leading him.
Yep.
Who's usually
and you can
commenting
see
to the
Lamar
defense.
was a little dejected, and rightfully so. He's
But
having
you
a
know
bad
what?
game.
Lamar appreciated it and respected it. You can hear
100%.
it how Lamar responded to him. Lamar was upset with himself, but he was like, "I appreciate my defense," and he gave all that praise to them at the end of the game, which was great to see.
Now, listen, there were a lot of game balls that could have been easily given out, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'm giving it to Patrick Queen because he deserved it, but I think there's a couple other guys in here for sure that you guys want to give.
Well,
a game
I know
ball
that
to.
you know it's not my game ball, but I know that we could talk about Tyus Bowser. Oh,
All right,
James emphatically over there.
Sell us on why Tyus Bowser.
He was blowing shit up on Sunday night, dude.
All right.
That's what made me say we need to give game balls back out, because that guy was putting a show on.
Yeah.
And he ended the game too.
The last play of the game.
I've seen it. I've seen it on Twitter. A lot of people calling him now the closer, as this is now his second game in a row that he's had that
The last
closing tackle to end the game. But you look at him statistically, he had a sack in this game, 3 quarterback hits.
Bowl.
Pass breakup in this game, and a tackle for a loss. Again, along with that game-winning tackle, he is building a very strong case for a potential Pro Bowler on this defense right now.
Yeah, I mean, you have him really showing up in this game. You have Justin Madubuike with the big-time pass deflection. Perfect timing, by the way, on that pass deflection. He comes out,
Played
he plays
great
well.
in coverage, too.
You mentioned B. Will, the run prevention overall. Broderick Washington, what he got, was able to get out there in snaps. I did a Twitter space afterwards, and somebody was like, "Oh, B. Will was, he's overrated," and I'm like, "Are you serious? Are we serious right now?" Yes, I know he didn't show up on the stat sheet, but we held that front.
Now,
held them.
here is where I will use the word regression. There has absolutely 100% been regression in Brandon Williams' production on the field, especially in the run game. But coming back in this game again to do what he did without his wingman there in Calais Campbell, he played really, really big in this game. You're not getting much push in the middle when you've got Williams out there and Ellis in the pass game, but in the run game, they were both very, very effective.
Definitely effective. One other guy that I think this one.
Your game ball?
Away. Look, it wasn't. He didn't stand out on the stat sheet.
Nope.
But he was in Baker's face all night long.
Kind of did
He-
stand on the sheet.
no,
though.
if you look, he only had 2 tackles in this game.
I'm talking
He got
about
the
forced
I'm talking
fumble.
about the 2 F words.
yes,
fumble,
the-
recovered
and the
fumble.
recovery, yes. But when it comes to like what we've seen out of him with the sacks, but the thing is that underrated stat that we say is missing, that pressure stat, right? That how many times did that force Baker to make bad throws, right? To get it, not be able to get the ball to a guy that he needs to.
Well, he was the one that made the strip sack fumble on Landry when they were using Landry as the quarterback,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. So he had.
And
Such a
then
bad
he
play.
blew up the right tackle that came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, once
And there
once Conklin was out, Oweh was in there
all the time, and there were clear holds. Man, they could have thrown the flag on holding
It was
so
bad. The
many
refs were
times
bad
in this
one.
game.
Remember how back in the day, I don't mean to cut you off. Remember back in the day, like we used to, oh God, the refs cost us that game. You blame the ref. God damn it, man. We could have done it this time because the refs of this one were bad all around in general, but Christ, the calls that were just not helping us out.
Yeah, it was rough.
That one play with the strip sack when Houston was involved, but he was stuck underneath and he just give it.
He struck the Mark Ingram fucking pose on the ground, laying out. It was great.
I think that one's behind us. Well, no, we're supposed to be in the Raven segment now, but that one right there. But no, look, I think there's.
Well, here's the thing, though. This was a great game. Great game defensively. 100% best defensive game that we have played this year.
Best light show.
But this game, the light show was amazing.
Best light show.
But this defensive performance could have even been bigger if a couple plays would have been made. Chuck Clark
That one pissed me off.
dropping that interception. I was like, I was ready to pull my hair out. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I make the excuse all the time when a DB drops the ball. I'm like, that's why they're a DB, not a wide receiver. You can't drop that ball. I'm pretty sure somebody without arms could have caught that ball. How do you not catch that ball?
It could have been a real dagger.
Unbelievable.
I'm pretty sure that there's a guy that played in Seattle that could have caught that ball.
Oh, God. Rough. I thought it and didn't say it.
All right, here we go. So you got that play, and then on top of that, Geno Stone sees the end zone, trying to pick up the scoop and score, and missed it. I mean, the Ravens ended up recovering the ball, and we get the ball back. But a couple of plays in that game defensively could have really changed the outcome and not made it such a
tight game.
A tight game and anxiety-ridden to the end.
Well, also a tight game. I know, obviously, you guys were talking about the situation with the refs, right? The refs
Queen
versus the
dropping
Ravens.
the interception. Yeah, that's another one as well.
The TD late to Njoku. Look, I know that a lot of people are up in arms. I think you could make that call either way. It does it.
What?
You gotta get your TV.
What?
Oh, you must have stopped paying attention to the chat room at that point.
I am going to Foot Locker and buying you a fucking outfit for a Foot Locker referee. How that play? Okay, now listen.
Because
I don't
the
know
ball
how it
doesn't-
came across on TV, so I have no
Because
idea
on
what you
TV,
guys
the
saw.
ball doesn't look like it bounces off the ground.
Let me show you. Let me walk you through this in the stadium, right? So in the stadium, they show two angles of this, and both angles were from behind.
Front and back.
Well, no, we're from behind.
Okay.
And you couldn't see it. It looked like a touchdown. Then they show the front view. And when I tell you, thank God for 4K and 8K, it was as clear could be. And they zoomed in to the point where I could see the wrinkles on his nutsack. Like, that's how clear it was. And
I'm gonna get me to one of these games.
it was insane. It was insane how clear this was. The ball is laying on the ground when they literally stop the play. They stop the replay.
that's all
The
daylight.
ball is on the green, is touching the.
Index card.
There's no way that you missed this. I saw this from the upper deck. If I don't care what they're looking at through that little Microsoft screen that they got in front of them, if you turn around and look at the big board, they had it paused for like 2 minutes on the jumbotron. There's no way it was debatable. No way. I don't know if they showed that on TV or not.
I seen it, but Scott.
there was no debate.
I think a lot of people, if that and
Closet
I'm not going to call anybody a liar. All right, I will not do that. But what I will say is,
Buddy had control. Get out of here.
I think there are some people that if that's the Ravens, it's the purple glasses are on, right?
people.
There are some people that purple glasses are on in that situation. I was trying to look at
this
it.
wasn't a purple glass thing.
So here's my
This is
only
black
thing.
and white, clear as day.
Here's my only thing, right? If it hits the ground, you would have seen a shift in the ball. There was no shift in the ball.
Is this paper laying on the table right now, Scott? Is the paper moving anywhere? No, paper's not moving.
Is my
But
hand
that
touching
paper
the-
is on the ground just as much as that football was on the goddamn
The
ground.
football would have been able to not touch the ground then because it's on that piece of paper.
All right, great idea. Anyone that knows a LASIK surgeon out there, we are fully willing to have a eyes clear call the game segment to get Fred LASIK surgery.
Yes,
Please
100%.
let us know. He's been trying to get some LASIK. This would be a great opportunity for
With or without glasses on, you could have clearly seen that was a drop.
I put like a screenshot of it on the group chat. But.
Anyway.
Well, I got to put my weekly James reminder in here. So, James, just so you know.
You got to put it down.
Oh, ding, ding, ding.
There you go.
All right, Drew.
James is his game ball,
This is yet
apparently.
again where we don't have this guy. It's a different ball game. I don't care. And
The
this
man
is
with no
another
name?
game where the guy goes and
They know
makes
the
a
name.
field goal after field goal after field goal, while the other guy on the field shanks one from like the same
Almost shanks two.
same goddamn spot. Almost shanked two. It just hit the damn upright.
Both from 46.
So yeah, it's whole like fruit. You got me on the O way was the game ball. But it's good to keep having this. He's the best.
Who are we
fucking
talking
kicker
out
of
for the
all
fans,
time.
by the way?
Justin Tucker.
There you
Justin
Sorry, I
Tucker,
shouldn't even have to talk about it. Just start to go have like a goat man. sound
the man of many
every time,
names,
'cause
man.
He's the fucking greatest kicker of all time.
3 for 3 on field goals in this game from 52, 25, and 49. Now, James, just so you know, 23 of 25 on the year, 92%, including a 66-yard record breaker. 4 for 4 on 50-plus yarders this year. Oh, and by the way, he's perfect on extra point attempts this year.
I don't know.
Every single one. Perfect means 100%.
I think we have a few teams that we've played that couldn't make that claim.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that we played that couldn't make that claim. Matter of fact, I want to think that there's like 30 teams that can't make that claim. He is the greatest of all time. He is worth every bit of his weight in gold. 4 first-round picks, not enough. I need more.
You know
man.
what's funny though? When the Packers come to town, you won't see Justin Tucker out in the field.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
That defense
Packer
had 2
fan.
games where it might not be true.
By the
We'll
way,
find out.
just as a where things are at for the Justin Tucker check. What do we talk about? 141 points every year, right?
Right.
He's at 91 right now.
Yeah.
He's 50 points
Well,
off.
the extra game's, of course, going to throw that off.
Nah,
you know,
don't worry
that
about it.
extra game.
It could.
That's why he missed a couple this year to keep his numbers
Yeah,
right.
keep it straight. Exactly.
Well, when we look at this schedule, we talked about it last week, man. This is a tough stretch from here on out for the Ravens. All that, powder puff and easy schedule that we talked about earlier on in the year, that's gone. That's gone. Now it's
2 hard
AFC North football. And there's, again, a couple of teams that are coming in from the NFC side. They're going to present some serious challenges to us as well. So between this 7-game stretch, I thought you needed to go 4-3. 4-3 going into this 7-game stretch gets you at 11-6, pretty much a guaranteed playoff spot. I'm not going to say it's going to be the first in the AFC. I'm not going to say it's going to win the AFC North. But if the goal is to get into the playoffs, you got to at least go 4-3 through the stretch. You get the first one at home against the Browns. Now we go into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. You got the Browns then again in Cleveland. The Packers, to James's point, coming to town. The Bengals, who kicked our ass,
We
we're
gotta
going
go in there.
into Cincinnati. You got the Rams coming into the bank.
worried about them.
And then finish against the Steelers. I understand that some of this stuff looks like a cakewalk, especially when you're talking about the Browns or the Steelers right now, because they have not played good football of late. But it's the AFC North. It's the Steelers. Records have always gone out the window in Ravens and Steelers game historically. I know a lot of shit has changed, but records have always gone out the window when it comes to Ravens Steelers.
Yeah, in the AFC, usually it does. Clearly didn't in their last game, as they were freaking trounced 41-10. But for those fans that are giving Steelers fans shit for that, you better watch it, because we only won 41-17. We got 1 touchdown more than they did.
They have a good kicker too in Pittsburgh.
They do. They have a good kicker. But here's the thing, right? So, and this is going back to what I was saying a couple minutes ago. The Ravens are actually in really good spot right now. Not just because they're the number 1 seed right now if the playoffs started, but when you think about things, and this is why that win was so big against Cleveland, is one, it gives them a division win. But when you look at the non-divisional wins that they have, you've got wins against the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Colts. Again, all 3 teams that are in playoff contention right now. And you've got those head-to-head wins against these 3. So that's big, right? So you gotta win some of these divisional games as you go down this stretch. Again, hopefully we can get to that 4-3 mark.
Well, let's start with the first one, which is the Steelers, right? That's the next game. We're past it. Let's move on. Now let's focus on the Steelers. It is Steelers week. But this is not the Steelers that we're used to.
Kind of is. I mean, Big Ben's still there.
Yeah, what's he doing lately? I think
Not a whole lot.
I think he's going to be collecting a retirement check after the end of this year.
He should already be.
Because look, in their last 5 games, they're 2-2-1.
Yeah.
To the worst
There's always
teams.
that one fucking team that ends up with a tie.
And it always seems to be Detroit somehow.
It needs to just go away. They just need to do. I hate ties. They just need to do away with it.
Do. I do hate it, but it gives us a one-up on the Steelers to be able to talk shit and like you tied the worst team in the NFL.
Just go to the college football format.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Since we're talking Steelers, what makes our crappy 8-3 any different than their bullshit 11-0 last year?
I'm not saying that there's a whole lot of difference because, again, we are 1 or 2 plays away from this team every game instead of being 8-3, 3-8, right? So there is a false sense of hope that I carry around with me every week that we go into a game. And I think it was a lot of the same for the Steelers last year. We talked about it last year. It ends every time we talked to Steelers was, this is the most overrated 7-0 team. This is the most overrated 10-0 team. And how did that work out? Didn't work out very well.
And we were right. Yeah, the scary part is we might be right about this team, too.
I am, but the difference maker for me is Lamar. I went into this season, again, even being the biggest fan of Lamar that I am, still with little expectations because of all the injuries, being completely depleted at the running back position. I didn't think Lamar would be able to do enough, but when Lamar is asked to do it, he can get it done, and he finds a way to win. He's done it multiple times.
And you know what the other big difference is? They did that run with their first string team, right? We're doing this run with our, you might as well, for all intents and purposes, on half the starters, it's second string, right?
But we're not getting anybody back, so it doesn't help.
No, it doesn't, but it just shows the depth, right? That we were able to do that. They had guys, when they went up against tough teams, they continued to start struggling, right? Hopefully we aren't. We went up and we beat the Colts, and look at what the Colts are doing now. Look at what Jonathan Taylor, we joked about it, but he continues to do well, right? He continues to be able to run the ball well. So you got to look at that. The Ravens going into this game, as of yesterday, they were favored by 3. Mm-hmm. As of today, with the breaking news, they are now favored by 4.
Yeah, losing TJ Watt, it sounds like more than likely for the game. Hasn't been confirmed 100%.
He's vaccinated, so he still has that chance. But if it's symptoms and he really got it, then
exactly,
all bets are off.
Exactly. So that's still to be determined. But
and what other guys may be affected if he is, in fact, positive.
Exactly. But you're talking about, one of the elite pass rushers in the league, a guy with 12.5 sacks who's going to feast against, Villanueva on the left side, even Macari on the right side. I'll give them credit. They did great, a very good job, solid job against Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Even though Lamar was running for his life at times, they did a very solid serviceable job against those guys. But TJ Watt is a whole other animal, man. He's another beast that you got to worry about. So if the Steelers don't have him and Lamar is that much more comfortable, I like our chances a lot more offensively. Go ahead, Ryan.
TJ Watt looked terrible this last game. I'm going to go ahead and say he had symptoms already. I mean, he got abused by a Cincinnati line that's average at best. So, I mean, he was at least feeling bad.
He was at least feeling fatigued or something. It wasn't there.
But here's the thing, though. This is, again, Ravens Steelers. I understand it's not the same Ravens Steelers that it was back in the Ray Lewis and the Ed Reed and the Troy Polamalu in those days. I understand that. It's not going to be a 3-6 football game and people with broken noses and hurt feelings after the game. These are guys that are doing dances and TikToks and all this other bullshit.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Because we heard yesterday and we heard from Tomlin today. We heard from Ryan Clark yesterday. I wonder if you didn't hear these comments, that there is something going on in that locker room, and I'm going to get to Tomlin's comments in a second, but take a listen to what Ryan Clark had to say about this Steelers team when Greeny asks him.
What do we say about your beloved Steelers today? That they're not my beloved Steelers anymore. Nobody's scared to play this team. There's absolutely no physicality. There's no energy defensively. There's no tone setters. You have one of the best playmaking free safeties in football at Mika Fitzpatrick, and you know what he is? He's a 5th linebacker because you won't tackle anybody in the run. Joe Mixon is flexing, throwing football into the stands. You know why? Because y'all don't scare nobody. Because it ain't about putting your face mask on somebody else's face mask. It's not about upholding what Joe Green did, what Lambert did. It's not about doing what James Harrison did, Casey Hampton, James Ferrier, Troy Polamalu. Those days are gone. We want to be cute, right? We want to make videos. We want to do TikToks. We want to dance in the locker room. We want to be the team that everybody loves to be around. We want to make jokes. We want to smile. We want to have fun. Pittsburgh football ain't about having fun. Pittsburgh football is about dominating people on the field because of your physicality. But that ain't what y'all want. What y'all want to do is y'all want to show up and y'all want to live on the back of legends. Don't nobody care about that no more, right? Young people aren't respectful to the past. In the past, Pittsburgh was something. This Pittsburgh defense ain't jack. And I ain't talking about Jack Lambert. I ain't talking about Jack Ham. I'm talking about Jack, and you know the rest of the word. Y'all ain't that. And so now, when Pittsburgh shows up to the stadiums, people like Joe Burrow, people like Joe Mixon, people like T. Higgins, you know what they do? They call their girlfriends, they call their wives, and they say, baby, you got to show up to this game. You know why? Because we're going to win fantasy football for somebody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stopping the nosebleeds.
He's absolutely right.
You better do something, or this will be Mike Tomlin's first losing season.
He's 100% right. Yeah. I mean, the entire culture has changed around that organization. This is what I mean. It's a long way away from what this Ravens-Steelers matchup used to be.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's Mike Tomlin, right? Mike Tomlin is still the leader, and it falls on him to right the ship with all this.
I'm glad you brought that up because he was asked today on that, on Ryan Clark's comments, and here's what he had to say. This is verbatim from Aditi Kinkawala. I'm not even going to try. Aditi. From Aditi. Guys that have, this was his, yeah, right. Guys that have been here, guys that have been in that room, guys that understand the standards, they probably have a better understanding than the guys that are in that room now. What he's saying here is basically Ryan Clark is right. Ryan Clark's whole point of that was this team, they're not the grinded out Pittsburgh Steelers that they're used to, and the standards that are set, and this is how we play, and this is how we act.
But if you agree with that, that falls a direct on you. You're admitting that your fault for this.
Which is what I said, because if you guys remember back, I said that I thought something was happening last year with that locker room. And this year,
it really started like back with the AB shit. Like when AB started doing stuff and posting. I mean, that was the open the door to it.
And then Le'Veon kicked the door open.
Well, Le'Veon, and then last year with Juju, right, with the dances and all the TikTok shit, right? That wasn't normal Steelers shit. And the fact
that they brought him back,
right? And so that's all this stuff kind of compiling. He's losing control of the locker room, it appears, right? And he's losing control both from a standpoint of discipline and from a standpoint of what they're able to put out on the field, right? And people are pointing at Big Ben and this and that. There's a lot of things going on here. There's a lot to unpack, and I said it before.
Job's open.
And that was. And that was going to be
USC job. He didn't know Notre Dame job was going to come open.
And that was part of my rebuttal here. Is you mentioned Big Ben, right? If you're thinking about the heydays of the Steelers and what they were, the only two people in this program that are involved that are still left from that are Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger, and those are the guys that need to be being the example, setting the expectations, laying the law down with this bullshit that needs to be
sand.
Right. Like that is, I mean, to me, that is for a, what is he, a 17-year vet, 18-year vet at this point with Ben Roethlisberger? What is he doing?
And that's the problem is that these guys don't trust him. They don't care.
I bet he just wants to get through the season.
He found God.
I really do. I think the man just wants to get through the
season. He should have hung it up last year. Should have hung it up years ago.
And the problem is he was never an example. Even when he was in his prime, he was the problem in the locker room. There were just people stronger than him that held it together. He was the one out riding motorcycles without a helmet and getting rape charges in the bar down in North Carolina. He was the original problem. So how can we now say, because you're old, you're a leader? No, you're still the same shit.
You're supposed to grow into that.
So let me ask you guys a question, because I had said it, and you guys all, when I said it, you guys all were like, no, you're crazy, you're crazy. I said last year that I thought Tomlin wasn't going to last too much longer if this continued down this path. It has clearly continued down this path.
They don't fire coaches.
They don't fire him, but does he step away?
No. I don't think he does.
They bring Tim Tebow in next year.
we've all seen how much difference a true quarterback can make in an organization. We've seen it hands in and hands out. I don't know what's going to happen with Russell Wilson. I don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. There could be a complete shift in the face of the NFL
Rodgers
with
is going to
quarterbacks.
Denver.
Who knows? He could go to Denver. He could go to Pittsburgh. I think if he gets a quarterback like that, you're going to see Mike Tomlin get an extension, not go anywhere, because it's going to change the outlook of this team.
You need that, but A, that's on the GM first off. But B, you also need a defense. Remember, this is a defense that coming into this year or finishing last year, they were looking at the salary cap going, I don't know who we can keep on defense. And really, they haven't. And to his point, you have Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is a damn good safety. They are. He's absolutely right. He is biting up on so many plays. Now he did get interceptions, and that's great. But that's because he's biting up so far. He's playing like a linebacker.
Well, they're asking him to because their lack of linebacker play and the injuries and everything that they've had. He's playing more in the box than he normally
Playing like
would.
Lamar.
Like who?
Playing like Lamar on the defense side. He's got to do more because
Yes,
there's less.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay,
that's a good point.
I was wondering where the hell you were going with that.
Interceptions.
All right, well, that leads us to our primetime prediction. Before we get to the Steelers game, let's start with the Thursday night football game. You got the COVID-infested Dallas Cowboys going in.
COVID-infested-ish.
It's just the head coach. He'll be all right.
It's not just that coach.
Oh,
it's 8 or 9 staff members, I think, that are all involved in this
and
thing.
the right tackle is out, too.
Yeah, and the right tackle, right.
Cooper's still not over COVID. The symptoms really hit him, so he's not playing.
He's not playing this week. And listen, Dallas hasn't looked good these last few weeks. Granted, again, they haven't had Cooper out there. They didn't have CeeDee Lamb out there. Again, I think Ezekiel Elliott's still dealing with some issues with that ankle.
Yeah.
But they have not looked good offensively. Now, they're going to New Orleans against another team who's struggling, but making a switch at quarterback, apparently. As it sounds like Taysom Hill's going to get the start in New Orleans this
He
week.
better after that money.
Yeah, getting that big contract. It's time for him to step up and earn that payday. I don't know. I was kind of back and forth on this game. I know it's going to be close. I don't know what to expect from Taysom Hill. I'll be honest with you. The couple of starts that I saw him make where he actually played the entire game as a quarterback was never really that impressed with him. So I don't know how much the switch to Taysom Hill really helps them. I still believe Dak Prescott getting a CeeDee Lamb back, if he comes back, can do some good things. Schultz, the tight end, has looked good there. I think the Cowboys figure out a way to win this game. I've got it tight, 24-20 Cowboys.
All right, I'm not too far off. I do think that the Cowboys are also going to be able to pull this out. I think they're going to be able to show what they can do. Yes, are they missing their head coach? Yes, but they have Dan Quinn, right, who is the offensive coordinator anyway. From an offensive standpoint, I think they're going to be fine. Defensive coordinator, sorry, yes. But either way, I think they're going to be fine. They lost McCarthy, they lost the O-line coach, the assistant O-line coach, 2 strength and conditioning coaches, and the right tackle was kind of the full list of what they lost. Do some of those hurt? Yes, but it's not like anything that's going to be game-changing, right? You're not completely getting away from the play calling. McCarthy, I think, has enough trust in Dan Quinn, who is a former head coach, right? Has been able to do it before. He's filling in on a short notice, but I think he'll be able to do it. The thing that's hurting them is this is a short week for them. Right, going from a Sunday game to the Thursday game. So that short week might hurt them, but I don't think it's going to hurt them that much. 28-21 Cowboys. Ryan, what do you got?
Well, I doubted Dak Prescott this last weekend because he didn't have all his wide receivers, and that cost me a few fantasy games. So I'm not going to doubt him this week. COVID or not, I got the boys winning 35-17. Maybe a big game from Diggs on the defensive side may keep those points down low.
All right. James, what do you got?
I'm going with the boys are back in town. I'm going with the Cowboys, 31-23. They can win probably a bigger score than this with McCarthy out, so that's a plus because he's a terrible head coach. So, like I said, the Saints are doing nothing on offense. Drew's not going to use his boy what's your boy? Kamara, because they got fucking Hill in. So
he better do something.
To Goog's point as well, yeah, both the Cowboys and the Saints played on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they both
so
played
it really
Thursday.
Thursday to Thursday.
Okay, Thursday.
It's not a short week. Go ahead, Drew. What do you got?
It wasn't intentional, but I got to play the lone wolf anyway because I got to play catch up. I got the Saints. I think it's I think it's going to be one of those games you're watching on Thursday night. You're like, what the fuck? Why am I watching this? You're just
Right.
watching because it's football. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I got it at 20-14 the Saints because they're the home team. I know that I've usually used that for close games on Thursday nights as it is. But I really do. I think that maybe, it's like Dallas got that thing where, like, all right, it's that time of year. Do they choke it away? You know what I mean? Like, they get that self realization, like, are we really that good? And there is a lot of issues with the Saints. But, I mean, if Kamara don't come back this week, I should probably pick the Cowboys, but I'm going to stick with the Saints.
All right, Scott, we're going to go over to the Ravens game now. 1 o'clock kickoff on Sunday. Again, going up to Pittsburgh, Heinz Field to take on the Steelers, reeling after it ass-kicking from the Bengals. How do you see this happening?
Well, news from at Game Medicine, who's our guy that usually gives us the inside information or the information that's being put out there for the health. Initial X-rays on Patrick Queen reveal a mild bruising to the ribs, no fractures, so good sign there. He is listed as questionable, but Harbaugh isn't concerned about that status at this time.
Good to hear.
Good to hear that. I do think this is going to be a tough game. It's going to come down to one score, but I think the Ravens, they need to show what they can do. You want to go in and show that you can go up against all of your division games and win most of them. I think they're wanting to show that they can take the Steelers down the first time and then take them down again at the end of the year. And it's going to be a statement to do it in Pittsburgh. A lot of motivation here, and I think that comes into play. And I think defensively, I think we see the defense continue to step up. You put pressure on Big Ben, and he starts to struggle. We saw that last week. I think we continue to see it this week. 24-17 Ravens.
All right, Ryan, how do you see this shaking out?
I don't see it as a one-score game. That I would be very disappointed in the Ravens if it's a one-score game. I have the same score, 35-17, and honestly, I think I'm way high on letting the Steelers get 17 points. They showed nothing last week, and I thought it was pretty telling that they pulled out Najee Harris almost immediately as the game was getting away from him, but they let Big Ben just hang around there. I think they know they can't bench him because it's kind of an Eli Manning situation, but they'd rather him just get injured and go away. Right. That's my take on it.
All right, James, what do you got?
Well, I'm sticking with the 17 as well, but also, if we're going to only win 2 games the whole season, I always want them to beat the fucking Steelers because I can't stand Steelers fans. They're just like Cowboy fans. They're just like Cowboy fans.
Obnoxious.
They bring on the fucking pass, and they live off it.
Carry towels around
6 rings, baby.
I just can't fucking
My grandfather sold 6 rings.
I fucking can't stand them. And if we only win 2 games, I hope it's always against the Steelers. So you can we still beat your ass. We only got 2 wins. We got you, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But I am saying Bowser's going to have a pick 6 off of
Big Ben?
Well, slow Ben. And I have to score 27-17.
All right, I like it. What do you got, Drew?
So I go with the Ravens here with a score of 24-16.
Okay.
When we were talking about predictions, I didn't take anyone else's cues off anyone else's scores, but I originally was going to make it like a 20-10 because I still worry about this offense starting slow and it being a juggernaut game where you know what I mean. It's that Steelers-Ravens game, like you said. The record goes out the window.
Yep.
What you've done so far has gone out the window. So I did change my score a little bit, but I wanted to bring up the score that I originally was going to post was 20-10 because I still fear that they're going to have that slow start again. Because until they do it, it's going to be in my mind.
Why do I think he did that so that he'd be like, do I get a half a win?
No, I don't.
Do I get a half?
I just felt like putting that in my perspective.
Yeah.
Like, I really, everyone else had like a high score. But what has the offense shown you that they could score 34 in the last handful of weeks?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good point.
All right, Fred, what do you got?
It's a good point. The thing is, and I've said this, it's Ravens Steelers, right? And both of these defensives have struggled in the secondary. And I think the Ravens are going to be able to expose that a little bit, but I also think Big Ben knows this defense better than any other AFC North quarterback out there. I know he's not what he used to be, but I think he'll be able to do enough to keep the Steelers around and to keep them in this game, especially being up in Pittsburgh in a hostile environment. A lot of these guys playing for the first time in Pittsburgh, in front of the fans up there to really embrace get into that environment up there. I think it's going to be a challenge. And this is going to come down to a 1-score game until the Ravens prove to me that they can beat the Pittsburgh Steelers by more than a one-score game. I'm going to continue to pick these games as a one-score game, but I had the Ravens winning it 3 points, 27-24 in a close game.
With the Justin Tucker kick.
Right.
All right, so let's shift gears to Sunday Night Football as we see the Broncos going to the Chiefs. Point of note here, this is the same Week 13 matchup as last year, down to it being Sunday Night Football on Week 13 in Kansas City.
Interesting.
Just a side note, because I was going through and changing this. We have a spreadsheet that we put all this in, and I went to go change it, and I was like, oh, shit, I don't need to. All right, well, that works.
Right.
I can't believe the powers that be wanted the Broncos on Sunday Night Football twice in a row, but all right.
Yeah, who knows? So let's start on the couch. James, what do you got over there?
I got this game being 37-24. It is what it is. You know who's going to put up the points. You know what the game's going to be. I think it's probably could be an ugly game or a good game. So either one.
37-24 Chiefs?
Yeah.
Chiefs. All right, Drew, what do you got?
Chiefs are everyone counted them out, and they're right back at top of the West. And I think they win this game 27-20. It's not going to be some landslide because they're still winning games. It's not like they're sitting there putting up 45-0 games or nothing like that.
Right.
But it was a lot of it was a slow start. It was a lot of kind of counting them out. But it's still the same cast of characters. It's still Andy Reid.
Right.
And it's still their division to lose. So I mean, Broncos win this game. That's a whole different story because they beat the Chargers last week. But it still feels a little bit like Chargers going to Chargers. But I just think it's back to being watch out. Chiefs have that chance of winning, being number one overall again.
All right, that's a good point. Ryan, what do you see happening?
All right, I got the Chiefs in this one as well. My score is 31-17. Chiefs are coming on a little bit. I don't think they're the world beaters they used to be, but we got to stop taking them lightly and kind of laughing at their failures.
Right. All right, Scott, what do you got?
So I don't know where you're going to stand on this, but I'm going opposite of all these guys because I think there's some. Yeah, they were on a bye week this week, and you're looking for the Chiefs to kind of come back and kind of look reminiscent of what we've seen the Chiefs look like, but they haven't done that most of the year. They've struggled, and I don't know that the bye week is going to fix that, in my opinion. I think that there's something else going on. I don't know what it is. I can't put my thumb on it, but they're just not firing on really. At times, it feels like any cylinders. It doesn't seem like they can get in a good rhythm. Patrick Mahomes, he'll have a decent game and then he'll have some struggles. The defense will do the same thing. And this is a Broncos offense that just put up 28 points against the Chargers, right? You can't deny that. The Broncos have won 3 of their last 5 games against the Chargers, Dallas, and Washington. 3 teams that have been winning.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can count the Broncos out. I think it's going to be close. But I got the Broncos being able to pull it out 21-17 in this game.
All right, so I don't think this is going to be close. And here's why. You're giving Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare. Chiefs were playing good football for the last couple of weeks leading up to the bye.
4 straight wins.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets a little bit more time to rest, and he comes back. Now they've got a running game again and a back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. This is the Chiefs that we knew that they were built to be. They've got weapons all over the field. Travis Kelce is playing really good football again. He looks excited to be playing again. And when that connection starts to get strong, look out.
Fair enough.
Now, why this Chiefs team is not as dominant as they've always been is because defensively, they are a liability. They are not very good defensively. If the Broncos were 100% in this game, I'd have this much closer. The Teddy Bridgewater's banged up. I don't think he's going to play this week. Is it Drew Lock? I guess it's going to be the starting quarterback out there in Denver.
Drew Nickerson, maybe.
Drew Nickerson, yeah, we could do that too. I do not like Drew Lock as a quarterback in the NFL one bit. Again, going against the Chiefs, even this is in Kansas City, dealing with that crowd and that mess. Chiefs win this one pretty easily, 30-17.
All right. And the other game that everybody's going to be watching this week outside of the Ravens-Steelers division matchup is going to be the Monday Night Football game, as we see the Pats, who are on a high right now with Mac Jones, going into Buffalo to face the Bills, who had a few struggles the past few weeks, have not been able to get off the schneid. So let's start with you, Fred. Where do you see this game shaking out?
Well, the Bills did not struggle this past week. They were firing on all cylinders this past week. And To your credit, Patriots have played a lot better football than I ever expected. Mac Jones has been probably the best rookie quarterback in this draft class so far. I mean, he's looked really, really good this year. I don't know. This is a tight one, and this came down to who's at home, right, Drew? To your point, this was the deciding factor for me. I've got the Bills winning this, again, a division game, 23-20 in a very tightly contested game. You're going to see mistakes on both sides of the ball. I think defensively, both of these teams are going to play good games to keep it close, 23-20. Bills.
All right, let's go over to Ryan. What do you got, Ryan?
I have a very similar score with the opposite reaction here. I'm going with the Patriots. Somehow, it only took a year, and Bill Belichick turned it all around again. He has his next Tom Brady, I guess, out there. So I got him 24-20, Patriots winning. I'm not that confident in a Bills team when they have no running game. So Bill Belichick just has to decide who he's removing from the passing game.
It's a good point. That's a good point. James, what do you got going?
I have the Bills winning this game, a close game, 27-21. Again, I have it as who's ever playing at home is, going to win. Judon's looking great.
Yeah, Judon looks great.
He's looking like something that we didn't have here. I don't know.
We didn't have that money either.
I don't know.
Him and Yannick both looking good.
I don't know if it's the Kool-Aid or what, or the purple long sleeves he wears. I mean, the red long sleeves he wears out there, so you know
the
where
advanced
he's
scouting.
at.
Right.
Because when I see him, I'm like, that's Judon, because he's the only one that wears fucking long red sleeves on the
Right.
Or
field.
he's got the pink.
Yeah, but I have it as a close game. Don't get me wrong. Patriots have a sound offense and defense. Their defense is playing lights out right now, and Jones is just doing what the coach says, being his puppet and getting the job done. So
Efficient.
it's like I said, they got to get something done. The Bills, if not, they can lose this game. But I have them winning 27-21 because they're playing at home.
All right, Drew, what do you got?
Doing this for the Summers. Go with the Bills. Like we said already, home team.
Hey.
I'm really intrigued by watching this game. This might be one of my favorite games like all season. And that's weird to say.
I hope it's snowing up there.
I'm predicting there's going to be a weather game. I don't know. I'm not saying you're going to be sitting there. There's going to be a blizzard. You can't see the green grass. But I think it's going to be one of those windy, sleet game, rain, something. It's not going to be a crisp sky with 30-degree weather.
December weather in Buffalo.
It's December weather in Buffalo. Yeah. It ain't gonna. I have a feeling it's not gonna be a pretty score. I got a 17-13. This is two of the better defenses in the league. You know what I mean? And like I said, especially if I go by prediction of it being a crappy weather game, defense it matters in the crappy weather game.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. I don't know who that benefits more because I think both of these teams are pretty battle-tested against the shitty weather. Scott, how do you see this shaking out?
Well, as of right now, just so you know, it's projected to be 35 degrees with partly cloudy skies.
Okay.
So
it's going to get cloudier.
It's going to get cloudier. Exactly.
Check 2 hours before game time, and the weathermen still won't know.
Exactly. We have no idea. I have this being a close game, but a higher scoring game. I can't ignore that the Patriots on a damn run at this point, right? This is 6 straight games for them, and they've won 7 of their last 8. And they've been putting up points on the board against everybody they've been going against. Right. It doesn't matter. I think that, honestly, they've only lost 1 game since that week 4 game against the Bucs. Week 4, week 5 game against the Bucs, whichever week that was, when they just barely lost to the Bucs by 1 score. I think that motivated this locker room because they know what kind of talent that they have. Their defense is playing really well, and I don't think you can ignore that. I get it's Buffalo. Buffalo has had a little bit of inconsistencies. Yes, are they coming off a win? But I think the Patriots pull this out 30-24 in this game.
All right, Ryan, it's time for a social media shout-out. Who's been chiming in the chat room? Any good comments or questions?
Yeah, I mean, this hasn't been our heaviest viewed, but we got all our big hitters. So they're all been watching from beginning to end and great conversations going on.
Appreciate the support as always.
Section is heavy.
Yeah.
All right, so Chuck Summers, Abi Hassan, John Googs, Jamal Caldwell, David Missler, Joe Carlozo, Travis Whitfield, Joshua Walker, Lunch Break Hot Take, Joshua Billamiller, Diggs 9876, Nick Short, Steph Summers, Garnett West, Ryan Bergman, and Flock Nation.
I saw Sharon Sherry out there, too. Got to give her love.
She did. She entered later. I'm sorry. I forgot to write her down. She said she forgot it was Tuesday. Was
Travis says he's there.
Add Travis. That's right.
So anyway, we got a couple good comments out here. Nick Short said Queen looked like a young Ray Lewis out there. He certainly was making his speed count. We've seen the speed of a Ray Lewis in the past, but when he gets there, he can't wrap up.
And he was
that
laying
was the big difference.
He was laying hard hits.
And then the one was the hard hit, and it kind of slipped off, and he got him by the ankle like a little crocodile roll. I thought that really showed a lot of growth in that hit.
100%.
And then John Goog says that Clark's dropped interception looked like he had hands of a Maryland wide receiver.
Too soon,
You didn't write down one of the best comments, though.
The best comment was from Miss Lily, my daughter, 4-year-old, said that she says hi, Mr. Drew and Mr. Pizza John's when they saw the couch over here.
I love it. Appreciate the sport as always.
Well, this week's Liquor Stop Brew of the Week sponsors our social media shout out section. So this week comes from, this is a fun one, Licking Hole Creek Craft Brewery.
The louder it gets, the better.
Yeah, this is their 9 Mile IPA, 6.5%. It's actually pretty good. I would say it's above an average IPA for me. I've been sitting here and almost down the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was very good. They did say you might not even know it, but you just contributed to bringing hope and access to clean water to a remote village high in the mountains of Jamaica. A portion of the proceeds from this brew helps you to build community wells for the village of 9 Mile. Thank you for your support. So
if you're looking to get a good buzz for a good cause, then get out there and get some 9 Mile. I like it.
I also did want to bring up, because he gave us a good discount on it as well. You tried this before the show.
Oh, yeah. It was good.
They have this $17.97 a bottle.
What is it?
This is Jim Beam's new bourbon cream liqueur. This stuff is smooth. I'll let you describe it because it was your first taste
I was going
to
to say, when he first poured it out, it just looked like a typical Kahlua. I mean, that's got the same coloring.
15% alcohol by volume 2, same as Kahlua.
Right. So we did a shot of it. I wasn't sure if it was like a mixing type of thing or a shot, but we did a shot of it. And it actually has a really strong eggnog vibe. So if you are an eggnog fan, and you're not even looking to buy eggnog, you just want to kill it all in one fell swoop, well, go ahead and get yourself a bottle of this Jim Beam. It is good, and I'm not even the biggest eggnog guy. I'm like a once-a-year type guy to say I had it type of thing. My father absolutely loved eggnog. But this, it's almost got a thickness to it.
I'm going to throw you all for a fucking loop right now.
What's that?
I've never had eggnog.
Well, now you have.
I might need
You've
to try
never had eggnog?
Never had
Not
eggnog.
even non-alcoholic
What
eggnog?
are you doing with your life?
Nope. I got Southern Comfort at home.
Why? You just never had an interest in it, or what?
I always thought I was obviously when I was younger, I just never got it when I was older. When I was younger, I was like, I don't want to drink eggs.
Oh, wow.
Oh, one of those situations.
Yeah.
Like now that I'm older, I know it. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to try it. I might try it if it tastes like this.
John says eggnog is Christmas morning, and that's it. Yeah, that's how I am, man. Like Christmas Eve, Christmas morning, whatever it is, I'll have one glass to say I had it, and that's about it. But get to Liquor Stop. Tell them Birdland BS sent you. Get your 10% off. All right, guys, it's time for some Shell and Tell.
It's time for the Ryan and Fred show. With a little bit of comment from everywhere else.
This would have been a lot of fun yesterday.
I was going to say, what was supposed to be a fun segment of Shell and Tell has turned a little bit more dark over the last 24 hours. Really over the last like 5 to 10 hours.
Should we just play it stupid and like do the celebration part and then show the depression later?
Let's save the depression for
let's
later.
Just play it stupid. I don't know what happened the last 24 hours. And I'll just read it later.
John Goog says we can only talk about the Rutgers game, and that's it.
And
that's
just
about
cut
it.
Off.
So going into this Rutgers game, we talked about how important this win was for the Terps, right? And for the immediate, but also for the long term, and to show progression as a program. Terps go up to Rutgers, handle business, play a very good game all around, offensively, defensively. Leah looked great in this game. Get the win and get their 6th victory.
I like how you put that. About an all-around victory in the 2 of the 3 we could possibly have an all-around victory with. Because our special teams just continue to be.
At this point, I don't consider special teams a part of the equation. So when I say all around, I'm talking offensively and defensively. That's it.
Except for our punters, who are still great, but unfortunately get no help.
Yeah.
The special teams has been terrible.
John Goose says, look what happens when we finally have a run game.
Yeah,
That's
the run
true.
game opened up fully.
Yeah.
They went up there, immediately jumped on their throats, went up 14-0. Well, sorry, 13-0.
Yeah, right.
We're trying to do an easy extra point here on special teams. We're asking one thing from you, special teams, and it gets blocked for a 2-point return of a extra point.
Save your breath. Don't waste your
What
time
are you
on talking
doing?
special teams. It's absolutely garbage. Like I said, Zook should be fired literally as they're walking out of the locker room after the bowl game. He should not have a job after
He's
that
not going to
day.
be there next year, and I don't know what's taking so long.
I
Because
know.
at least with
I know.
all this negative news, the fans could be like, all right.
Let's hang on to some positive news. As Goog said, it was nice to finally actually have a running game and to show some promise for the future. Obviously, Tayon Fleet-Davis is the senior back who we expected to be kind of the bulk of the carries.
The
with
rookie
this-
and the vet, they called him.
Right, exactly. But you get this younger guy out there in Colby McDonald, who we saw early in the year, make a couple of plays here and there, but didn't get a whole lot of time.
There's still a lot of people in front of him.
Over the last couple of weeks, because of some departures and some injuries and things of that nature, Colby McDonald got his run in this game. He took advantage of it and had a big game.
Yeah, huge game. He was out there, both of them. Tion Fleet-Davis ended up with 185 yards in combined rushes and receptions.
Right.
And Colby, I think, was just under 100 yards.
He was 100. He had 99 yards
99
rushing.
yards. Yeah, just under 100 yards rushing. Unbelievable for both of them. Really showed what we could do if we had that side of it because it opened up downfield later.
And two big runs by both of those guys, too.
Both
One
of them
was
were
43,
yards, which is what Fred has been waiting for, is
Yeah.
the big explosive type
It's-
plays we haven't had.
It's the thing that's been missing from this offense is those explosive running plays, and you finally get them in a game that you absolutely had to have them because you needed this win. I was going to feel real bad about not winning this game going up against a freshman quarterback up there, but thank God we held on to that.
I got scared when they replaced the vet with the rookie. I was like, "Oh no, the
Yeah.
freshman quarterback. We've never videotaped this guy." And he hit a couple really good deep passes.
Right.
And it was really interesting how they were bringing in the older player to hand the ball off in short passes and then throwing in the.
Right.
So what was hurt in this man's shoulder that he can throw a 10-yard pass but not a 30-yard?
Right.
I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah,
I thought it was nice that Leah had a good game, from a passing perspective. He was able to really spread the ball around in this game and get a lot of guys a lot of chances. But the one guy that obviously stood out, he had 7 receptions on 111 yards, was rack, that 126-yarder, but didn't get a TD in this game. But he's the guy that's responsible for them driving down the field. Yeah, he didn't get the TDs, but he got them down the field.
This is the game I needed to see from Leah, and this is why. We had talked about it for weeks about Leah not having that signature win. Now, granted, this isn't against a big name school or anything like that, right? But here's the thing. The
pressure was on.
The pressure was on. This is the first game where I've seen him be able to put the spotlight in the background and not worry about the game being too big for him and actually going out there, being efficient, getting the job done right out of the gate, too. I mean, it started early for Leah in this game, continued the whole way through it, played a really, really good game and looked confident.
And to Scott's point of him not having a touchdown, he ended up 1 yard short of a touchdown on a huge, I think it was like a 30-yard bomb, and with just laid out, landed on his back on the 1 yard line. And our team couldn't pay it off. Again, 1st and goal from the 1.
Right.
And that was the one time where I was just like, same old crap. How do we fail
Was that
here?
the drive with the penalties that moved them back?
So it was, they ran the ball the first time, but they ran it with McDonald. They didn't use either your Fleet-Davis, who seems to be more of your outside get around, or Penny Boone, who at this point is no longer a Terp, but was in that moment, to try to run up through the line there. So I was a little interested in that. The next play call was a naked boot, which is stupid on the 1, and he got sacked for 6 yards. And the third was a fumbled snap that he got back and just kind of threw away. And then we ended up missing a field goal as time expired.
So I have a question for you guys, because after hearing the news of Penny Boone entering the transfer portal, right, today,
man.
kind of going back and looking
that word right now.
I
There's a
know
lot of transfer for
he
him.
got
This
he
one
got-
doesn't even hurt that bad.
So I was gonna say, my question is that maybe the reason? Was this writing on the wall with him doing this, and that's why he wasn't given any touches in this game at all?
I think there's probably a little bit of that.
Yeah.
He could have been nicked up. But honestly, Fred and I talked after he departed that when they ran him at Michigan State in the first quarter and he dominated, and then we never let him play again. How he's from Detroit.
Right.
How can you get over that? So, like, even if things were okay, like, I can see these kids the way they are. They've always been the biggest, best thing, whatever. Like, the fact that you had whatever it was, like 7 carries for a touchdown and 40 yards, or whatever that was in the first quarter, and you just are not used anymore, abandoned. I'm not shocked it happened. And again, it doesn't hurt that bad because we see Colby McDonald. We hear good things about Hemby. There's a little bit of talk
Antoine Littleton.
Antoine Littleton's there, and he's kind of the Penny Boone 2.0, the big boy that we're losing weight to try to come in. And I mean, this is 2 years of Penny Boone, and this is all we got out of it. So I think he's going to be great in a different system. I don't think he's a bad running back at all. I think that Locks does not do enough under center, downhill running, and Penny Boone was a waste. And he wasn't able to work in this system.
Right. Now, we got a lot to cover with the transfer portal and all that stuff. Before we get into all that, though, and before we get into the potential bowl game situations, there were some postseason awards that were announced for some Terps. My guy, Sam O, he's all Big Ten, third-team selection. This is a guy that not a lot of people had on their radar before this season. But at this point, I think he's worked himself into potential NFL draft positioning. Might be a 6th or 7th round flyer kind of guy. Might even be an undrafted free agent. But I don't think even going into this season, he was on an NFL radar at all. Yeah. He'll end up being. So congratulations to Sam O and your boy, Nick Cross.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. So Nick Cross, CJ Mosley, Still, and Finau all got honorable mention. I feel like all the others, it makes a little bit of sense. Honorable mention's about right.
Right.
But Nick Cross feels like a bit of a slight.
Yes and no. I think because he was asked to do so much else and he played a lot of out of positioning, that hurt him. He wasn't able to put up the stats that a lot of these guys look at.
He didn't have the interceptions and pass breakups.
He didn't stand out as much as he did last year.
He was asked to do a lot more because that secondary was so riddled with injuries, and he was playing up in the box, and the linebackers went down. Like, he was just asked to do things that he shouldn't be doing all the time.
So does this give you any hope he's back, or is he still gone?
I personally, I think I have more hope that Cross is back because I think he can improve his draft status. Right now, personally, if I was putting a rating on him, and my rating absolutely means nothing, but if I was putting a rating on him,
with a few of these guys,
I would say a 3rd or 4th round pick. So is he happy with a 3rd or 4th round pick? If he is, then he's gone. But if he wants to be in that maybe lower 1st or 2nd round pick, he's going to need to come back for another year.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Well, maybe
what happens with the rest of the team.
Maybe that'll be the only good news I get this week. Let's see.
Maybe. It just depends.
I mean, you saw Muhammad Ibrahim coming back to Minnesota. There's some big names that are coming back.
Ibrahim, a running back's dime a dozen. It's a little bit of a different position group than safety, but yes, to your point, that's true.
Yeah, it's still a big name. Certainly showed that he had the NFL caliber. Kind of more of a Dante Demas situation for him than it would be a Nick Cross.
And our other guy, man, Mr. Personality himself, Anthony Pecorella, won his sportsmanship award.
Not shocking at all.
That seemed like a layup.
Dead ringer.
Yeah.
I think this was maybe just a team level award, but if there's a Big Ten award, he should win that too, and he should be in the discussion for national level. I've never seen a punter
be the first one out of the tunnel.
He's the first one out of the tunnel always.
Yep.
He runs all the way down to the fans. He's in everyone's ear. I saw him walking off the field with Talia at halftime.
He was in Tully's ear that halftime.
This punter is like the glue to this team. How does that happen?
From New York, from Long Island, like they're forced into being strong personalities. Social butterfly. He is.
I love the kid. I hope
does
we
all
see
the
more
good for mental health as well. Like he's got a good head on his shoulders.
He's a great
man.
kid. We need to get him some help. We need some guys that can pin the ball where he puts it.
Yeah.
Guy shouldn't have to do all of it on his own, but great dude. Great player, and couldn't be more well reserved.
All right, let's get into the bowl projections, because here's the thing. Right now, the Terps don't know where they're going to be playing their next bowl. There are a couple potentials, couple that stand out a little bit more than the other. Right now, they're looking at potentially going to Detroit for the Quick Lane Bowl or New York for the Pinstripe Bowl. I think 100% of 100% of fans would much rather see New York than they would Detroit. No shout out at Detroit, but it is what it is.
The one will be
more
playing
desirable
indoors in warmth, so that's kind of a good name.
That is true. Couple other less likely potentials are Las Vegas, Nashville, and Phoenix. I would be fine with any of the three. Obviously, it's going to cost a lot more money to travel out that way than it would be to go up to the state to New York. But either way, Terps are going to be bowling. I'm excited for it. All this stuff is going to hinge on how the Big Ten shakes out with championship games and all that, and the New Year's 6 bowls. There's a lot of things that need to still happen before the Terps will know for sure, but I'm excited, man. This was the goal we talked about going into the year from the preseason. Get bowl eligible no matter how you do it, and they finally
Hey, I know one that's less likely that you guys are both pulling for.
What's that?
Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
The wife was very sad to see that Vegas was an option because we have already planned a Vegas trip for March, and as soon as I listed off that Vegas, Fred was supposed to see Vegas for the first time with us. So Drew felt the same way. But honestly, I don't think Vegas or Phoenix are happening. They're both 10:15 p.m. Eastern kicks. So not only would you have very few Maryland fans making the trip so far out there with planes, but you would also kill your TV revenue. So I don't see those happening. I do think that New York is the one that the Terps staff is pushing for. Quick Lane is the bottom row of the Big Ten bowls. So if all of the people drop down, that's where we would end up for that.
So Goog's throwing out a stat here. He says, here's a crazy stat. 83 teams went at least 6-6, and there's only 82 slots. So one team is going to be missing out on a bowl game.
It will not be us.
It cannot be us.
100% will not be us.
I feel better now that you said that. So, all right, fuck it. Let's rip off the Band-Aid. We got to talk more about this. We've already kind of hinted at it with Penny Boone entering the transfer portal.
That was the first one to fall.
That was the first chip.
And I was like,
you
I
never
can
want to
handle it.
see any of your guys leave,
Never.
right? You always
I
want.
wasn't happy about it.
You'll fall in love with the team. You'll fall in love with the roster. You never want to see any of them leave. But Penny Boone didn't hurt quite as bad. It might, somebody pinched my arm or whatever. It hurt a little bit. DeJon McDougal, 3-star wide receiver out of Deerfield Beach, Florida. He's another one to depart.
That one hurt a little bit more just because I remember our reaction to him signing. We thought he was better than the 3-star rating that he was.
Yeah.
Also, Deerfield Beach, Florida is a lot heavy talent. You never want to see somebody be unhappy with their experience and be able to talk to future people in that high school of like, that wasn't for me, and that gets in their ear. So that's not a good thing. But there is a lot of talent ahead of him.
And what hurts with this, too, is I hope it doesn't burn any bridges with the potential connection to Florida, because that's a good pull for us to have.
A lot of Florida kids are departing currently.
A lot of talent down in Florida, and we are seeing a lot of kids exit from that state.
That's a numbers game, too, though, because Locke's #1 spot outside of Maryland has been Florida. He's been killing it down there.
Yeah, I hope
there's
this just doesn't.
People there.
Hope this doesn't ruin that. Now, one to me that wasn't a surprise still hurts, because if he's in the fold, I mean, he's one of the best linebackers in the league. You got Terrence Lewis, a 5-star recruit, never saw the field as a Terp, came in, rehabbed his injury from an ACL, and then said, see you later, as he enters for the portal.
Absolute thief.
Yeah.
He came to Maryland with all their brand new rehab staff and got his free surgery on our health care and got all his massages and his hot tubs, his cold tubs. And he's like, peace, bro. I'm going back to Florida.
Now that I'm healthy, I'm out. I mean, he had a lot of ties to the University of Miami, obviously being from down there in Florida. He hasn't announced where he's going yet. My gut feeling would be that he's going home and he's going back to Miami, so we'll see.
I would imagine that's going to happen.
But sticking with linebackers, and the one I think that hurt the most from current players.
Yeah, there you go.
From current
it was
players.
What I thought was going to be the biggest hit.
From current players, linebacker Brandon Jennings. This was one that we had been talking about for weeks off the air with some inside information that we had, that we thought that he could potentially be leaving. We thought he could potentially be leaving mid-season, not waiting until the end of the year to do it. I think it boiled down to the injury, and when he came back healthy and not feeling he got enough playing time and not being involved enough personally is what I think it is. I don't know that for sure, but yeah, he enters the portal, and this is a kid that, I mean, right away, he had to play because of some injuries that we had at that linebacker core, made an impact in his first game, got back with a big sack early in that game. I forget what game it was. It was before Iowa. Might have been Iowa. Might have been before Iowa. It might have been Kent State.
Kent State, he almost single-handedly won that game.
That's the game I'm thinking. I had a huge game, so he was going to be impactful in this defense. And now you lose 2 big linebackers, a 4-star and a 5-star. That hurts.
That absolutely hurts. But you know what? Early signing period's coming around, 12-15. So I'm excited.
But wait,
we got some guys committed. But do we?
I was going to say, wait, wasn't there a
7:15
decommit?
As I sit down in this chair, AJ Swan decommits.
Don't let him lie. He didn't get here till 7:20.
Yeah, I didn't read it till I sat as I was driving to this chair, and then sat in it to read.
AJ Swan,
God.
man, a quarterback that was a 3-star rating, but played well beyond.
Won the Elite 11.
Won the Elite 11 competition.
At least a 4-star quarterback.
He was also very vocal on social media. He was an advocate, trying to get other recruits to follow him to Maryland and whatnot.
A big one.
Yeah. One of our best wide receiver commits that we have right now in Knots that I'm hoping still stays, but I question that because he was a big part of that recruitment. We'll see what happens, but that's a big loss. Now, here's the thing. The other thing that you got to think about this, and I had to put it in context because I was hurting over this. This is the kid I wanted to see be a Terp because I got a feeling he's going to be big time. Even going to Vanderbilt, they don't even know who their coach is going to be. I still think that this quarterback can be that kind of
How 2 years
impact.
in a row have we been left for Vanderbilt?
I know.
There's so many teams better than us, and they're not one of them.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
McDonald's bag.
Here's the thing. Here's the
Not
thing.
better than us.
Here's the thing.
McDonald's bag.
Nothing about Talia has played very good. I'm not going to say great. He's played very good football, right? But nothing about Leah's game scares me that he's going to go potentially pro anytime soon. Nothing that he's shown has shown me that he's going to go pro anytime soon. He is a redshirt sophomore. So you still potentially have at least 2, maybe even 3, if he wants to take advantage of that COVID year of years of eligibility. And if you know that he's going to be the starting quarterback for this franchise or for this university for the next 3 years, if you're an incoming freshman who wants to play right away, that's a little, it could be a little scary because you're not going to see the field for potentially 2 to 3 years. I understand why this kid may think going to a college like going to Vanderbilt might be a faster path to seeing the field. This is a kid that has pro aspirations.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that he could have came here and competed, number one. I also think that the 3 years we might need to look into because I've heard something that next year's the last year they can take that extra year. So it may have only been upper class.
That's why I'm saying maybe.
Extended.
I'm not even sure how that is.
I'd have to double check it because I'm just remembering that from a live broadcast. It's not anything official.
Okay.
But 2 years still, and that he's locked in. I can see that. You also have Jordan Saray, the local quarterback commit. So it's not like we're quarterbackless.
Right.
He's very good, and he's a more of a mobile type quarterback.
And we're still going to have probably one more year from Reese if he doesn't go. Right. So we at least have one more year there. So we're going to have good depth.
All of that if Reese was officially returning, and if Tolia's not going anywhere, I could see why he left. Does it hurt any less, especially on the day that I hear about 3 of the 4 people leaving?
Right.
No. I mean, Penny Boone's the only one that was yesterday. Everything else we just said happened today.
Well, I think
that's why I was sitting home going, "What the hell is happening?" and not making it here.
If you're in this
My
kid's
life is falling apart.
If you're in this kid's shoes, one of the things you got to be thinking about though is the fact that he's looking at this saying, "Well, Leah just took him to a bowl, right?" Leah performed in this game well enough to take them into a bowl situation. He started the season well, wound up finishing the season to take him into that bowl. So he's looking at it going, I'm not going to get a chance because this kid just took them to a bowl game and he's got the years ahead of me. So I think that plays a factor. I think that's why it's also right after he gets the bowl, right? And gets the bowl eligibility because of that. So I think that plays a factor. But one of the points I wanted to bring up that I think Joe Carlozo said, he said these transfer rules are crazy. Locke said on the radio that he did like the rule. Do you think he still thinks that way?
No, 100% he does. And here's the thing. So this is going to be the way college football is going to look forever. Now that they've given the whole instant eligibility available on transfers, that they don't have to sit out a full season, that they can live. This is basically going to be college football free agency every year. If a player comes in and feels like he's not being utilized to the correct way, or to his strengths, or feels like their defensive scheme or their offensive scheme doesn't fit his game, that's what's going to happen. So this is going to work both against us and in our favor, because to Locke's point, which he said on the radio interview, there's 1,300 transfers in the portal. 1,100 of them are still sitting there right now. So even if you're putting your name in the transfer portal, doesn't automatically make the assumption that you are leaving, one, and two, that the grass is going to be greener on the other side with whatever situation you go into. Locks has been very supportive of this, because he's used that to his advantage in bringing guys in as well. So as much as Ryan and I are these huge Terp fans and we love these guys and we grow attached to the names and wanting to see them develop and all that stuff, it sucks losing them, but there's going to be replacements. We will get some of these incoming transfers that will still be very effective.
So there's one other question that I had that I wanted to ask you guys, because I saw, again, it was Joe Carlozo with the comment.
Let's get Caleb back home. I like it, John.
There's one of the things that I'm not sure how it works, and maybe you guys can give me more insight. He said someone gave him, joking around, saying someone gave a big NIL check from another school. So I don't know how this all works with the NIL, as far as I know. Obviously, you can't be a booster and be giving in an NIL, I would assume.
No, you can.
Really?
Yeah. It's just basically you cannot say it's pay for play, but there's no possibility of enforcing it, because BYU, of all people, BYU, the religious organization where you can't eat a fucking chocolate bar and play for their team. But what they did was they had a car company that has given a NIL equal to a scholarship amount. The school is paid for every one of their non-scholarship players. And all these guys have to do is they have to come to the car dealership X number of times a year, shake hands, kiss babies. So what you're doing is you're giving a scholarship as a booster, but because they did something for it, it doesn't matter. So it's 100% pay for play. That's why we're going to get pwned by these bigger schools over and over again. And these schools like BYU and like Notre Dame that have the religious tie will dominate, because on top of the boosters, they have the religion that has buku money.
That's what I'm sitting here thinking about, and that's why I asked the question, so I'm glad I did, because that's where you're looking at some of these, and how much does that start playing a role? Because we don't have the boosters. To your point, the boosters aren't set. They're not giving any more money.
No, that's not all true. We got word today that the boosters are actually going to be funding the program a decent amount to afford a much better coaching staff around Loxley. So we could see some positional changing, some coaching changes coming.
Special teams especially.
Definitely special teams. I will volunteer for that job and be an upgrade.
So can we get the boosters? Can we get the boosters to take that money, and instead of putting a better coaching staff around Locks, let's put money in. Let's put it in some McDonald's bags, and let's just go shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's what's going to happen. That's what is happening, according to what you're saying.
Here's the thing: what the transport portal is actually a terrible place to be if things are on the up and up, because there are so many people that left the Terps last year that ended up on non-scholarships, because the scholarship number for these teams don't go up. So we have these 25 scholarships, and they're filled. When a scholarship player leaves the Terps,
that still counts as a scholarship against you.
Yeah, logically you would think, okay, we can go give a scholarship to somebody else because a scholarship left. No, that scholarship just disappears into the wilderness. You don't get another scholarship. And exactly. It makes literally because that was my thing last year. I didn't understand it, because I was like, well, that's great. That guy was barely playing and he was on scholarship. So now
we
can
upgraded our scholarship player.
And Ahmed's like, no, they don't get another scholarship this year. You don't get that till the following year. So that's happening all around the country. So all these people are showing up to schools that don't have scholarships for them, but somehow the grass is greener with no scholarship.
Because
do you know any parent in the country that's like, go leave your full ride and go pay $60,000? No, there's a bag of money waiting for them on the other end of that non-scholarship.
Yeah, right, 100%. That's definitely true.
I'm glad I asked.
Let's move on to basketball. Let's be real quick with this. The Terps squad have not been playing very good. We've been talking about it. 5-2 now on the year. They went down to the Bahamas for the Bahamas championship down there. They did win the first round
What the hell is
game.
that whole venue, by the way?
I didn't understand it either.
I loved
It
it.
looks like you could play in here. Then
It looked like they were playing in a middle
changed
school
the lighting in here.
auditorium.
You're set.
It looked like they legit put a basketball court in the middle of a middle school auditorium.
Can I just say that I have never liked the idea of these in-season tournaments.
Yeah.
Like to me, it just doesn't. You're forcing some teams to play potentially extra games compared to other teams.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing it for years.
What are you getting out of it?
It's money for the program.
travel.
They're gonna play that game regardless.
You're gonna the travel's gonna cost you.
The kids
Not
got
the
to
kids.
the kids got to go
Awesome,
down the
the
water
school.
slide. You didn't see the water slide? They were killing it. They won the water slide competition.
Like I said, first round they end up squeaking by Richmond. That's right, they squeaked by Richmond with an 86-80 win. I mean, offensively, yeah, they put up 86 points. They should against Richmond, but defensively, they're not playing good basketball. They go on to the championship and lose to Louisville 63-55 in what was just overall an ugly game on both sides of the ball, really.
They couldn't hit a free throw to save their lives, and they were out rebounded in this game 51-25.
Yeah, that's alarming. I mean, when you've got the size that we brought in, in Wahab and the freshman in Reese, and you're getting double the output in rebounds from the other team, that's a bad sign.
I'm so not a Wahab fan. I know he played great in the second half of that first game and just kind of dominated and had this sweet little left over the shoulder hook. I don't see anything from him, and it's so spotty. I just can't wait till Reese surplants him. He's going to be a bench warmer.
The problem with Wahab is he's slow. He's slow in transition, so he can't get back when you're trying to move the ball quickly. And the Terps just don't run good set offenses. They try to get the ball in and get the ball quick, and you need that athleticism, which is why Wahab ends up sitting out a lot.
And can Fats not shoot at all? Because the dude doesn't shoot ever.
That's the thing. I think Turge was looking for more of a facilitator at the one than having a two guard like they had in Ayala out there. So I think they've been asking Fats to be more of a traditional
I guess, but
one.
you've removed the threat.
I understand, and that's got to change.
It's not like I get that you want him to slash or facilitate, but he has to pull up every
He's
once in a
never
while.
been a great three-point shooter. He's always been like
Neither
right
is anybody
around
else.
30%. But to your point, yeah. I mean, Hakeem Hart's really been the only one that's shown flashes this year behind the three-point line.
David says only time my area gets mentioned. I believe he's from Richmond, so I think he's referencing the fact they beat Richmond.
Oh, man, yeah. It hasn't been pretty. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I attributed it early to the team just like needing to learn to play together and, getting up to speed, but things have just not looked any better.
Here's the deal. They're not the only ones dealing with this because the Lady Terps fell in the rankings this week because they had 2 losses to 3 opponents this past week. All 3 are now ranked
Top
opponents.
10 teams.
Number 6,
And they're missing everyone.
They beat Baylor. They lost to North Carolina State 78-60. They lost to number 7 Stanford 86-67. And in all 3 games, they were out rebounded. I believe the Baylor game was only by 5. All the other 2 games were by at least 10.
Not worried one bit.
At all.
Not worried one bit.
I'm glad you guys said it because I wasn't panicking either.
This is why NCAA rankings mean absolutely shit to me because do you realistically think the Terps have any shot of not making the NCAA tournament?
No, because they have Brenda Freese as the head coach.
Well, that and they've got a super talented roster.
Yes.
Once this roster
They
is
could have
back
won
to
last
healthy,
year. They all came back.
I don't care if they're a 1 seed. I don't care if they're a 16 seed. They're going to be at least in the Elite 8, if not a Final 4 team, in my opinion, if they're fully healthy going into
Some of
that
these girls
tournament.
last year could have
This is
walked
just
away
a
to the
bump.
WNBA.
And again,
Yeah.
to your point, this was 3 top 10 teams in the country. With
Not
the team,
Richmond.
right, not Richmond,
Mason.
not George Mason, not all these other guys.
The women's tournament was loaded because they were down in the Bahamas with them,
Yeah.
and they played all studs. I mean, Louisville is nothing to be looked down upon, but still, we were barely competitive. It's just unbelievable to me that we aren't better than we thought we were.
All right, fellas, it's time for the rundown. I'll start this one off, and I'm going to go with one of the more exciting sports to talk about, golf. Let's talk PGA for a second.
Which way you're going?
Totally threw me off.
Well, the entire face of golf has kind of been changing over the last few years. We've been talking about it, when we do talk golf, Bryson DeChambeau and, the entertainment value that he is and the fall off of Tiger Woods' career and all of that. Well, Tiger announced today, actually, in an interview that he's not going to be returning ever to golf on a full-time basis. So those days of Tiger being on the PGA Tour day in, day out, and all the different tournaments are gone. I don't feel bad for the guy. He did it to himself. This has been an issue of his. He's lucky to be alive. He's lucky to even have a career at all.
He's lucky to be walking.
Right. So again, you've got that happening.
I loved his comment, by the way, when they were like, you're 46 years old and how do you feel? And he basically, his response was, well, I'll be in a cart in 4 years.
Yeah, essentially. Well, good for you. I'm already in a cart. But anyway, we got the match, which I think is one of the more entertaining products that the PGA puts out there. We've seen the battles with Tom Brady and
Tiger and Phil.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers, Tiger and
Barkley.
Phil, and all those guys. Some very entertaining value. Well, the last couple of years, obviously, Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. There's been the feud between them two. So they had their 12-hole Black Friday match
before they made up at the Ryder Cup.
I know. See, that's what spoiled this for me. Was there's all this build-up, and then they fucking kiss and hug at the Ryder Cup, and it blew this whole thing for me.
It should have been, guys.
I didn't care.
Kiss and hug behind the scenes. Be assholes to each other out here.
I know Ryan had some expectations for this one. What did you expect?
Yeah, I was excited. When I first heard this was happening, I was like, bro, if this was like a long-term play troll, this is the best marketing I've ever seen. Because how have I talked about golf 10 times this year? That is insane. The only time I talk about golf is to tell you all that Tiger Woods is a shitty human being.
Yeah,
that's the only time I talk about golf. But not this year. This DeChambeau Brooksy thing has been hilarious.
Best part about the match was Phil on commentary.
Yeah, Phil's pretty funny.
He was roasting left and right in the previews, in the after hours, and then Brooks giving it back because he picked
I think he's got a future in broadcasting.
Oh,
he was on the Peyton and Eli thing, and he was asking like professional interview questions to the Manning brothers. He wasn't even like trying to be like funny. He was like, I thought it almost to me felt like an interview. Almost felt like here's a presentation of what I could potentially be as a commentator. I think he's got a future in that when he decides to hang it up.
How old's he going to be for that?
I don't know.
He went from
how old's Al Michaels? How old's
he went from dominating the regular pro league to going to the seniors where he could just win every tournament by 10 strokes. He's going to be 85 years old looking for a third career.
One of the things he said on stage was they were all going back and forth, and he was just like, I'm the only one that's won a major championship this year. And then just dropped the mic and stuff. Shut up. But sad news, too, with Lee Elder, too.
Yeah, Lee Elder, who broke down racial barriers as the first black golfer to play in the Masters and kind of paved the way for Tiger and others to follow through, has died at the age of 87. So, again, it's just a changing in the face of what the PGA has been for a very long time.
Yeah, crazy. All right, let's get into the big moves. And that's in MLB this past week. Moves that are getting attention across the board. So some key dates to know, first of all.
Far too much money.
December 1st. So that's tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. The collective bargaining agreement between the MLB and the MLBPA expires. They have to work something out before February in order for camps to start down at spring training and to start on time. So we'll see what happens there. You got the winter meetings next week, 6th through the 9th in Orlando, just as usual. Some news out of the Orioles. Breaking news before the show as the Orioles sign Rougned Odor. And if you don't remember that name, you remember a nice right hook.
I remember
Jose
Odor,
Bautista.
one of the best punches on national TV ever. God, I could stand Jose Bautista.
No details on the financials yet.
Negative. Not to cut you off. So he's still at the end of his deal that he signed with Texas. So what that essentially means is, so when the Yankees traded for him last April, they were paying that whole salary for that year.
Right.
So this year, the only thing the Orioles have to pay is the veteran minimum. So I can't remember the veteran minimum anymore, but at that, $1 million or less?
It's like $1.5 million somewhere around in there.
It ain't like you're paying $10 million,
Okay.
5 million, or something like that.
I mean, listen, he's not a world beater or anything like that. He's not a huge needle mover, but second base was a position of weakness for this team.
It's either going to be one of two things for me. It's going to be Michael Franco or Freddie Galvis.
I think it's good. I think he can defensively be more of a Freddie Galvis upgrade than what we had. Offensively, you're going to see some home runs in the short porch.
It's either okay or it's Michael Franco.
Yeah, Michael Franco's bat, and I think Galvis's glove.
Possibly, yeah. Some other moves that the Orioles made. They actually put Lucius Fox. They released him, put him on waivers, and he cleared the waivers for the Nats, so he's gone. They also released right-handed pitcher Brooks Kriske, who was asking to be released, and they granted that for him so that he could pursue an international opportunity. Point of note, by the way, just because we said international opportunity, Adam Jones. Did you see the home run that he hit?
No.
For the it was a beautiful shot.
Really?
It was a bomb to left field. It was a bomb. Go ahead, Drew.
They outrighted Richie Martin to AAA, so there's now
3 open spots.
3 open spots on the 40-man.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Okay. So maybe some protections coming from those guys that we talked about.
Look, there's 6 guys that they had until 8 p.m. to tender for arbitration. And they, according to Drew, they did right before the show. They did tender them all. Trey Mancini's been tendered. We don't have the details just yet on the dollar amount.
It's a tender, so basically it sets up. It's crazy because I don't know how it's going to work with the lockout. So basically that would set up for if you got tendered a contract, now you do the arbitration process.
Right.
That's where I want $7 million, but we want to give you $6 million, and you meet in the middle or you go to the case.
Right.
So,
They're basically, look, are we going to talk or not?
And the only weird thing is with the lockout, anything that's just that tender. Now it's kind of like
it's in limbo.
Shit out of luck.
It's a commitment
still an Oriole,
it's a commitment to the contract, and ultimately it's going to be up to the courts to decide on what that money ends up being.
Anthony Santander, he was one of the guys that they wound up working out the deal. 3.15 is what it worked out to for this year, so that's good. John Means, again, a tendered guy. That number was expected to be about 3. I want to say 3.1 or 3.2, somewhere around in there. Yep. So we'll see what happens out of that. Jorge Lopez gets $1.5 million as they are able to work out a deal with him, along with Paul Fry, who gets a very low amount at $850K. I'll take it. Paul Fry, you don't expect a lot out of him, so see what he can do.
First half, and then an injury he's just sucked his second half.
Yeah. And then the other guy they tendered was Tanner Scott. So let's move to the rest of the MLB because this is where shit just hit the fan yesterday. Yeah. It was deal after deal after trade after trade.
Let's power through them.
So let's start with the Mets. You're going to do the next one. Mets making some moves. They signed Starling Marte. They get Mark Canha and Eduardo Escobar and a splash with Max Scherzer. The deal's for $3 million, or for 3 years for $130 million. That's an average of $43.3 million a year. That's the highest. It breaks Garrett Cole, which was signed last year with the Yankees at 36. So he blows that out of the water, and he becomes the oldest player in MLB history to sign a $100 million contract. 3 years. Stay tuned for the 2-minute warning as we have a debate that we're going to talk about that deal. So stay tuned on that.
Yeah, Toronto's making some moves. They signed a former Kevin Gausman, after the big year that he had out in San Francisco.
In the AL East.
I can't wait
to
see this.
I think he's going to fall back on his face, and he's going to end up being the Kevin Gausman that we all know.
Got paid. Good for him.
But listen,
I'm all for everyone getting paid, but
he got paid, and he got paid off of 1 year because we all know nothing that he got paid off of this contract had anything to do with his time as an Oriole. 5 years and $110 million. Hey. Good luck with that contract, Toronto.
Yeah, it works out for him. Yeah. Seattle making moves as they make a trade with the Padres, picking up second baseman and outfielder Adam Frazier, who had a pretty good year. The Padres get a left-hander in Raymond Kerr and an outfielder in Corey Reiser. Not a whole lot there. Corey Rosier. Not a whole lot there, but big deal for Seattle because then they also turn around and sign Robbie Ray, who, again, has had a great season. He's had 2 great seasons in a row. He's starting to connect it. He gets 5 years, $115 million over top of what Gausman get. That one, I think, is a little bit more deserved than what Gausman got, but good on the Mariners. The Mariners looking to make some moves.
Yeah, along with that, Tigers end up signing shortstop Javi Baez to a 6-year, $440 million deal. Works out to be about $25 million a year. It's a good deal for Javi. I think this is a good deal for the Tigers as well. They need more. It can't just be Javi Baez and that's it. If they want to be competitive again, this is a team that we were battling with for the first pick in the MLB draft. They're going to need a lot more than just Javi Baez.
Another team that struggled last year is looking to make some changes in the Rangers. Rangers really struggled last year, so they
spent like $500 million.
They spent a lot of money, so they go and get second baseman Marcus Semien for 7 years, $175 million. Then they turn around and get John Gray for 4 years, $56 million. And the news late yesterday, early this morning, as they get shortstop Corey Seager from the Dodgers, 10 years, $325 million for this kid. And crazy to hear.
$500 million. Both Seager boys now signed with over $100 million contracts. Pretty notable for brothers.
But with inflation, that's nothing.
Stay in AL East. The Rays ended up signing Corey Kluber. Good deal. It's kind of a prove it type deal. But the Rays now, after locking up Wander Franco, now sign a guy like a vet in Corey Kluber to bring in to shore up the staff. So.
Well, and the Twins are looking at their franchise guy by signing Byron Buxton to a 7-year, $100 million contract. He's been a staple up there. He's going to continue to be for the foreseeable future.
Never quite lived up to the height that people
he really
had.
likes the IL list. I know that.
He does. He hasn't been able to stay healthy very often. Cubs make a move, sign Yan Gomez to a 2-year, $13 million deal. Not a needle mover, but a deal nonetheless.
Now, an interesting deal here as the Marlins make a trade with the Pirates. The Marlins get Gold Glover catcher Jacob Stallings from the Pirates.
Yeah.
Right? And they also get they give up pitcher Zach Johnson and prospects Kyle Nicholas and Connor Scott. Big get for the Marlins here at catcher, especially after they gave up a guy in Riamalto. They saw that wind up hurting them, and here they turn around and get another Gold Glover down there.
Pirates, in a related move, ended up signing catcher, what's his name, Drew, the guy that was potentially going to the Orioles, the catcher for the Pirates.
Roberto Perez.
Roberto Perez, good defensive catcher, not very good with the bat, but a very good defensive catcher, so they followed it up and signed a vet there. The Braves, World Championship Braves, making moves. Still haven't signed Freddie Freeman, apparently asking for, what did you say, like a 6-year, $150 million deal-ish?
6 for $185.
6 for $185. I think it's a pretty fair deal, to be honest with.
Yeah, actually, it's a really fair odds because the guy, shortened season or not, he was the MVP in the COVID season.
Right.
Yep.
And he's just had solid – he's that you know what I mean? Like that franchise corner piece for Atlanta.
He is the Markakis
of the Braves. I don't think he goes anywhere. If it is, it's Atlanta or maybe the Dodgers swoop in and drop in a couple $20 million.
We'll see what
the way
happens.
the Rangers are spending money, maybe they'll spend money down there too. They did sign right-handed pitcher Kirby Yates for a 2-year, $8.25 million deal, and they did exercise the team option for manager Brian Snitker as well.
No brainer, considering you just won.
Exactly. You won a World Series, keep him around.
That's for through 2024, by the way, for that Snitker piece. The Dodgers are supportedly in the signing for relief pitcher Daniel Hudson, 1-year, $7 million deal. And then the other Oriole news, as the Giants apparently Oriole-related, yeah. As the Giants apparently just like former Orioles, because per John Heyman, they're signing Alex Cobb to a deal expected to be around 2 years, $18 to $22 million.
Expect him to be the next $100 million man in the AL East next year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Maybe another Kevin Gausman type deal.
Doubtful.
Yeah. Speaking of flurry of moves, right, and crazy contracts.
That's one we can spend an extra minute on.
I got to get Ryan's takes on a lot of this because I'm intrigued, right? College football, there's been a flurry of moves, especially big moves at some prestigious programs. Let's start with Oklahoma. Oklahoma, obviously, they've been competitive, been a top 10 school for a long period of time now. A lot of that came on Lincoln Riley and the recruiting that he's been able to do since he's taken over.
A lot of that came off the back of the DMV recently.
And a lot of it came local recruiting.
Winners and hopefuls.
100%. Well, he's making the shift from Oklahoma to the USC. We talked about the potential of Franklin going out there. What ends up being Lincoln Riley, who I did not think would be leaving Oklahoma, but when you look at the contract that he got and
I sent this to you guys and I was
hell.
I don't blame him.
Look, here's the deal. When you look at the details of this,
this is absolutely insane. Again, none of this has been 100% confirmed, but it's confirmed.
That's how it happened.
$110 million deal over the course of what, 10 years? Right? So a little over $10 million a
You can
year.
probably figure out how to get fired in 4 and still get all that.
Yeah. So his contract, before any kind of endorsements or anything like that, he's going to be making over $10 million a year just on his year-to-year contract. That's not all. USC is also going to buy both of his homes that he has in Norman right now for $500,000 over what he was asking for it. I have no idea what he was asking for.
Hold on,
these
let me break
houses.
this down. This is how this happens. Someone comes to you and offers a $110 million deal. And you go, I don't know, I just don't want to sell my house right now.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, how did this come up?
Not I don't want to sell my house. I don't want to sell my houses.
I don't want to sell my house.
We have 2 houses.
I don't want to sell my houses.
Here's what we're going to do. Not only are we going to give you this $100 million contract, but we're also going to buy your home from you. You know what? We're going to cover moving expenses by giving you, I don't know, $1 million between the 2 houses. You think that'll cover it?
Yeah.
All right. That's one part of it. But
Wait.
There's more.
Not just with that. We're going to give you, I don't know, just fucking pick out a home, find a home, $6 million home work for you. Cool. We're going to buy you a $6 million home in LA.
But wait, there's more.
And wait, we're not done yet. We're going to fly you and your family into your new home on a private jet, and we're going to give you unlimited access, you and your family, to this private jet. 24/7, whatever you need it.
Whatever you want.
Hey, you want to fucking go to the grocery store on a private jet? Do your thing.
If you
It doesn't matter.
You really like that grocery store in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yeah,
We'll get you
Back to
there.
that grocery store in Norman, Oklahoma.
Ain't nothing better than Piggly Wiggly.
He wants some of that Oklahoma barbecue.
Unreal. I mean, like, these deals are just getting so absurd, but this goes to show you why the NIL was absolutely necessary, because it's criminal how much money these universities have been making year in and year out off of these players, off of these coaches, that they can give this
USC
kind of
hasn't
money.
been good in forever.
I was just
Hey, how many national titles has Lincoln Riley won?
None.
0, right? He is now going to be making more annually than Nick
How
Saban
many
is making out in
playoff games
Alabama.
has he won?
No, but the best
0.
That's
Exactly.
with Joe's like USC tuition just went up.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well,
I mean, just absolutely mind-blowing.
The other thing with Oklahoma is after all this, then we hear that the guy that was the preseason favorite for the Heisman,
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler, says, I'm going to the transfer portal.
I think Spencer Rattler was out regardless of whether Lincoln Riley was there or not. He switched over to Caleb Williams mid-year, and Caleb Williams was going to be his guy. But now there's a lot of guys that are leaving Oklahoma. There's a mass exodus going on. The majority of them are going to be following Lincoln out to USC.
How many to USC?
But hopefully Locks can scoop in there and maybe get a guy or two. We'll
There's
see.
a lot of DMV folks out there.
Yeah, a lot of DMV
Not
folks
really,
out there.
because Lincoln Riley has 24/7 to a jet. So
Players
Right. Well, so now you've got the not the USC job open. Now you've got Oklahoma open, but another prestigious school is now opening as Brian Kelly makes the announcement that he is moving from Notre Dame to LSU.
You know what he was doing? He was salivating at the talent that's down there in LSU.
I don't know.
Here's the thing, though.
Ed Orgeron could recruit like crazy.
Ed Orgeron. LSU is as the SEC. He's not going to be able to get to hand pick his fucking schedule like he does at Notre Dame, like he has for years. Another coach that, again, yes, he's always in the thick of things when it comes to the the playoffs and all that stuff. How many national championships has he won? 0. I understand he's
Doesn't matter
like,
if you're probably getting paid double what you're making.
I understand he's like the most winningest coach in Notre Dame history, which is crazy when you think like he's won more games than Lou Holtz did as a head coach there in Notre Dame now.
This shows you how little everyone knows, though, because his name wasn't brought up for any coaching openings.
At all.
Not one
At
in the
all.
whole country.
Yep.
So how is he just, I'm leaving, going to LSU. What?
Yeah.
11 minutes.
Unbelievable.
Texting the kids, say, hey, I'm going to have a meeting with you tomorrow. Like, how about you fuck off? How about that shit? And then show up for what, 2 minutes?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Waste your
Yeah.
goddamn time. Guys, I'm leaving. Sorry.
Yeah, like listen, who's turning down $15 million a
blame
year
me,
or
but
whatever
don't
he
come
ended
up
up
with
getting? It was
stupid
close
shit.
to $15 million a year. Just be honest with these guys. Listen, I'm getting paid. Sorry. If you want to transfer and come with me, the door is there. Let's go. Let's
I'll
do
get
our
as many
thing.
scholarships for y'all as I can.
Yeah, I'm going to LSU. I'm sure the bags are bigger down there. We'll
God, I
see.
hope Notre Dame finally dies. They've been clinging on for so long.
No rules. No boundaries. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, it's time for the 2-minute warning, fellas. We're going to keep this, well, at least the first question, college football related.
Okay.
As we've been talking a lot about college football here. Drew's going to be asking the questions. I'm ready whenever you are, my friend.
All right. With it looking down to Young out of Alabama and Stroud out of Ohio State, who do you have win the Heisman, or do you think somehow it's someone else?
The only other player that I could potentially see would be Michigan State's running back, Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, couldn't think of his name. But, you know, when it comes to Heisman's, it's always usually the quarterbacks that take the prize. Young had a shitty game against Auburn, but somehow figured out a way to win that game when they definitely shouldn't have won that game. Stroud has looked good. He's gotten better and better as the season's gone on, but a big loss against Michigan hurts him. So if I'm giving the award to either guy, and this is coming from a guy who roots for Ohio State, I'm going to end up giving it to Young.
Yeah, I think when you look at what Young has done, I think you can't deny that he's been able to compete against every team that he's gone up against. I think to your point, I think the loss really hurt Stroud in that sense. Honestly, it took me a little bit to kind of look through these guys. I haven't been paying attention to that much to the Heisman. It's just not something that gets my
Scott's
attention.
still Leah for Heisman. What do we got?
No, I didn't say that.
We talked about Max Scherzer earlier. Does the deal make sense, and who does it benefit more?
Well, 100% this makes sense for Max Scherzer. Who's not signing $100+ million for 3 years when you're 37 fucking years old? But unfortunately, like, this is what the Mets do. The Mets have been making bad contract decisions for decades now. They're still paying for Bobby Bonilla, and they will continue to pay for Bobby Bonilla when they're done paying for this contract too. Statistically, he's still the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. He's putting up great numbers, but that cliff can come quick and abrupt.
Look, here's the deal. When it comes to Max Scherzer, this guy, yes, he may be 37 years old, but he won 15 games. There's not a lot of guys anymore that we see that are 15+ game winners, much less at 37 years old, because they can't get past the 5th inning. Right. Here's a guy that regularly can, right? That's a quality start. That's how you get it. You got to get past the 5th. Here's a guy that does it. This guy's his career WAR is 67.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. You can't ignore it. I think it benefits both sides. I think Mets actually wind up getting some wins out of him that actually help propel them into a better situation.
All right, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, guys.
Warning.
Good show. Yeah, right. Scott, sign us out.
Oh, man. We appreciate you guys each and every week for tuning in. As always, you can check us out on our website, www.birdlandbs.com.
After hours, sponsored by Arby's.
While you're there, you can check out all of our episodes, learn about each of us, contact us, check out the latest episodes of Shell and Tell that they'll be putting out, and get yourself some Birdland BS gear, which I am always proudly wearing. It's easy to go check it out through the website. You can also follow us through bigplay.com. But more importantly, follow us on all of our social media sites. It's Birdland BS. It's super easy, guys. It's how you find us. Look in the scroller, the ticker down below. Our names. That's how it is.
That's not me.
No,
That's not him.
That's not him. We didn't fix that. Damn it.
That's true.
That's true. There you go. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and share while you're there. The audio version of the show can also be found on all your podcast apps. So be sure to subscribe and leave that 5-star review. If we're not on somewhere, let us know. I think we're on all the major platforms. So if we're somebody we're missing,
on all of them.
Tell us and we will figure it out. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in with us every Tuesday night live as we do this at 7:45. So for this week, for Fred, Ryan, James, Drew, and myself, the full house, we'll see you guys next week.
See you. time for the after party.
It's that last call for alcohol.
All right, fellas, good show. Anything you guys want to talk about in more in depth, maybe from the rundown, 2-minute warning? Anything you guys want to go into?
I did want to get everybody's take on because we didn't give everybody the chance, but one of the things that was the big splash, and I know it started a little bit of a conversation in our group chat, but we kind of held back a little bit. Where does everybody stand on this Max Scherzer deal? Where do you guys all stand on this deal? Ryan, we'll start with you. Yours should be quick and easy.
I think all. Oops, sorry. Hold on.
He put himself on mute. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
I think that all these baseball contracts are absolutely absurd. I also think that starting pitcher contracts have gotten pretty crazy because, like you said, nobody's winning 20 games anymore.
Right.
So you're talking about a great pitcher is winning 15 games and an okay pitcher is winning 8. So you're paying like $5 million a game to win? What? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't think Scherzer wins 15 games in any of those 3 years for the Mets.
Really?
Nope.
And that ain't even by him. It's just the fact of the matter is
it's the Mets.
It's the support. It's the Mets. They had the division lead in June, and then by I can't remember what, but it was no one's ever done that where you had the division lead like at a certain date, and then you didn't even make the playoffs, like let alone win go to the wild card game. Like that's
right.
It's unheard of.
Yeah.
It's Mets.
I mean, listen, I don't think he's still a very dominant pitcher. I don't think he's got the stuff that he had early on in his career. He definitely doesn't have the speed on his fastball like he did. He doesn't have the stamina to be able to go 9 innings like he used to.
I mean, he didn't really do anything with the Dodgers.
He didn't
in that second half.
He didn't. He's 37 years old. I mean, I know, like, there's some people
in this day and age, all that you need to do is put your team in a position to win, and that's what he did. Again, 15 wins last year means he went beyond. Think about this from our perspective. That's 15 times that he won when he went beyond 5 innings. Yeah. Very rarely does this guy go less than 5. And that's what I'm saying is that he puts him in that position. This team had their largest winner. You would have thought Noah Syndergaard. Noah Syndergaard won 7 last year. Their biggest winner, Marcus Stroman. 10 games.
Are you talking about DeGrom? Because
DeGrom, sorry. Okay. DeGrom, not Syndergaard. DeGrom, sorry.
Yes.
But DeGrom was
game at the end of the season because of Tommy John.
But DeGrom, even still, a top-tier guy.
Super injured.
Was injured. Only had 7 wins that he had, but Marcus Stroman had 10.
Yeah.
So you put that up against a guy like a Scherzer who just wins wherever he goes. I mean, this guy's been in the playoffs all but 2 years since 2011.
I know you're a catcher, but you're not his catcher. You don't have to keep defending him.
I'm just saying, my whole point is I get what you're saying with the age, but it hasn't changed everything in the past few years. What's the legious?
James had a good point about like some of the contracts that are happening with these pitchers and making all this money when you're only, you're not playing 162 games. Your impact is every 5 games. You can go ahead and.
I think MLB, they need to get something taken care of. These contracts are getting out of hand. You're getting pitchers getting paid, and if I was an infielder or utility player or outfielder, I'd be bitching. I'd be like, you pitch every 5 to 6 days and get the same money that I'm out there every day.
More
infield, playing the infield and batting, and you just, I have a hangnail, I'm not pitching today, or I have a blister, I'm not pitching today. I have soreness in my arm. But these guys got to go out there with like a sore leg and still play and bust their ass, and they're getting paid the same as a pitcher where he just like, tonight I'm collecting $12 million just to sit on the bench and just drink water all day. Like It's ridiculous. They need to be incentives for pitchers saying, hey, you go so many innings, you get an extra bonus or this and that. Or like we talked about, like in football, you have a salary cap and like quarterbacks make more than this player or this position. It needs to be changed. If not, they're going to ruin baseball. No guy that's 37 years old should be making $130 million.
So
ridiculous.
Here's what I'm going to say to that is you act like this is a new thing, but Kevin Brown was the first one to do this as a guy over the age of 30, or you think he was 33 when he signed the deal with the Dodgers for over $100 million. This isn't new, so don't act like it's new. First off. Second off, yes, I get what you're saying to an extent, but what you're not taking into account is these guys go up to bat, 4 times an inning? Right? Maybe each of these guys, from a batter standpoint, is seeing I don't know, let's say 6 to 7 pitches on average. We'll call that an average, right? So 3 to 4 times, 6, 7 pitches. They maybe have to make a play, we'll say 3 to 4 times a game on average, all right? Pitcher is in there for 100 pitches. In most cases, good pitchers are in there for 100 plus pitches each game that they're in. The toll that this takes, how many guys have we seen that if you get used in the wrong way?
Some makes 100 pitches. Now they stop when they get to 100.
Even still.
Sergeant's the only one that goes past that for the most part.
Even still, which is all the more reason he should be paid more.
No,
right?
Maybe when you're like 20 years old, but
And
you're
by the time you
37.
hit 37,
Yeah.
all that catches up with you.
37 years old, like Drew said in the
He
group
may be
chat.
his velocity may be down, but he's still pitching the same amount of pitches. He's still getting deeper in games.
It's with pitchers though. Traditionally, what you see is you don't see regression. Like, word of the day. You don't see a regression, right? You don't see a slow
I created that
downhill.
word, apparently.
It's a cliff. It's a cliff fall. I mean, it's a quick fall from dominant to a nobody. And I personally think that he's on the precipice of that cliff. He's looking over that cliff. And unfortunately, this is what the Mets have to do to get a guy like a Scherzer to come there. One, they're going to make money on it marketing, right? They're going to make a shit ton of money on jersey
they're the biggest
sales.
market.
They're going to get some fucking ticket sales out of it just being Scherzer's at
So,
season.
the other thing that
But
you-
is this a smart move for them to try to propel them to the next level and being an actual World Series contender? No, it makes them a better team having a Scherzer in the rotation, but it does not move the needle enough for a team like the Mets to be an actual World Series contender.
He also holds the third year option, right? So that's something that you have to look at from his perspective and from the team's perspective. That if they're not doing well, he's not going to stay there.
Yeah, he is.
Well, look, but
Not if he's doing
Nobody
well.
else is going to pay him.
The guy has been in the playoffs the guy has been in the playoffs every year but 2 years for the past 10 years.
Well, I guarantee he won't make it to one playoff this year.
I don't think he makes
or
playoffs
next year.
again.
Or the
Put
year after
money.
that.
Put money.
And he
Put money.
It's New York.
Now, so here's
New York.
Here's
They go there to die.
Here's the thing to bring up.
Atlanta's super young in that division. They're going to be in the championship
Phillies.
run for that division all
Even the Nats are going to be
those
up
3
there.
years, 100%, unless they have major injuries.
I find it crazy that like you're going to be locked out in 24 hours. Well, basically.
Potentially, yeah.
And all these deals, like
None
you're
of this
signing-
matters.
But you're signing. Well, it does because they're still getting they're still going to get paid.
Yeah, that's why they're getting these deals
So
done. The
it's
players
so
are like, "Fuck
funny
that! I'm
where
getting it
it's
done
just
before anything
like-
changes."
A salary cap is definitely needed.
Yeah, but you've
Yeah, but that'll never happen.
Like it's so crazy that like if there was no lockout,
Needs to.
Scherzer probably wouldn't sign a deal till like December 20th.
Right.
Javi Baez probably wouldn't even.
But
It might
you
be
can't-
like January, February because there's a lockout. Oh, here's some money.
Yep.
Take it. It's just fucking ridiculous.
Exactly.
I don't think they get paid until the start of the season unless they had a signing bonus, right? They aren't paid until the start.
I'm sure
until-
$130 million comes with a pretty sweet signing
Yeah.
bonus.
Once that ink is dried, the ink is dry regardless.
dry.
It's dried if there's not a lockout. If there's a lockout, they don't get paid if there's a lockout.
But they're not going to get paid regardless. So you sign your deal now before anything changes with the potential of what your contract is going to be. Yeah. Because if there's limitations, if there is a salary cap or whatever it might be.
Because they
Right.
literally like had a meeting today. The first meeting they had was today or yesterday was like 10 minutes long, and it was like already over. And then I think they got back at it this evening, but I haven't read up on it.
MLB's
going to
gonna
be
fuck it
a
up.
lockout. They fuck
They always
themselves
do.
over. You knew that. I knew. I mean, I'm not saying like I'm the
David.
only one. I
David
knew it
says
was going to
Tom
happen
Brady.
way back when they couldn't agree to come back from COVID.
Right.
Oh, speaking of Tom Brady, did you guys hear about that? Those kids calling like a random number. It happened to be a Tampa Bay player.
No.
Their FaceTime and random number is the Tampa Bay locker room.
Yeah,
Was it really?
It was one of the players, and one of the defensive players. He's not like a big name, but you can look it up. But
Tom Brady got on the FaceTime with him.
But Leonard Fournette got the phone and he's passed around like, "Hey, show the thing." And then one of the kids was like, "Where's the goat?" And he was like, "Hold on." Well, Gronk got in there.
It's like, not that
all
goat,
the-
another goat.
And then the goat came out, and the kid's face was like,
That's
like excited.
funny.
It was
That's
cool shit,
awesome.
but they were just prank calling
Hey,
like
by the way,
FaceTime numbers.
So this is real random because it literally just popped in my head. Who has the better commercial right now? Or commercials, line of commercials?
Okay.
Tom Brady.
Big Baker Mayfield.
End of discussion.
Or Gronk, because Gronk's commercials for the USA are horrible.
Baker is.
Yeah,
But
so
Baker-
Baker is the. I love Baker's
I'm not saying
commercials.
better. I wasn't comparing them to being better. Baker's
okay.
not Baker.
Two different ends of the spectrum.
God damn, the one Gronk's running, just like it seems like he's
Except
just like
the one
literally
with Tom
wording the
Brady.
line. and then he goes,
I'm not a member.
so stupid.
The one
Am I
James is
your
right
buddy,
though.
man?
James is right though. The one that was good was the one "Come join me in Tampa" with the broken up cell phone,
That was a
and
different-
all the rest of them
But
are
that wasn't
terrible.
USAA.
That was a different carrier.
That
yeah,
was Tom's.
that
That's
was.
Tom's commercial for. Yeah.
I like
AT&T,
the. See, I also like the Subway commercials where Mahomes can't get a word in edgewise.
Subway? Well, it's Mahomes and everybody else. Like
No,
they're
it's
like we
State
don't.
Farm.
It's like we
State
don't have
Farm.
time
No.
to show you this $80 million person
it's a
ball.
Subway.
Steph
It's a
Curry
Subway.
couldn't get a word in on the
Oh, it's Steph
Subway.
Curry. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. You're
And
right.
Tom Brady says, "Look at the sandwich, and I don't even eat bread."
And just
Yeah.
another thing to throw out there. Did you, who was it? Mike Zimmerman, the head coach for
Mike Zimmer?
Yeah, Mike Zimmer for
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
You see his girlfriend?
Uh-uh.
I'll have to look
Dude, look it up. Her name is Katrina. Hold on.
Smoke
Katrina-
show?
No, yeah. Katrina underscore or the line underneath.
Oh, that's all you had to
Elizabeth.
say. So she's an Instagram model.
Her name's Katrina
Oh, that's all
underscore.
money.
She's
I
Australian.
need to get paid. I need to get paid.
God.
Does she have an OnlyFans?
Does Riley? Probably. Is Lincoln Riley? Is he married?
I don't know. He's gonna
If
be to
he's not,
somebody.
boy, he's the most eligible passer in all of California right now.
Yeah. I mean, that deal is absolutely absurd. I know we talked about it, but
Okay, like the money contract, yeah. But then once you sent out like I'm buying your fucking houses,
Yeah.
and you can fly wherever the fuck you want, and like I'm giving you a house. You don't even give him a house,
Right.
You're giving him $10 million a year. He can buy his own
on
fucking
top
house.
of the part that we're not even factoring into this whole thing, he's going to be in LA, and the
Yeah.
amount of endorsement deals that he's
Yeah.
going to get just being in LA are going to be absurd. This guy is going to be rolling in the money, like ridiculous money.
I don't
Besides
think,
his
I don't think they're
contract.
going to have any more celebrity scandals because they're not going to be able to afford it.
Yeah, but what's funny though is USC is a very prestigious program, and it takes me back to like the Reggie Bush days and the Matt Leinart days, and when
We're announcers now. That's how old we are.
Yeah. But that's when USC was formidable, and they haven't been a good football squad in a very long time.
Because everybody else started paying players too.
But Lincoln Riley, like, he's not much is going to change.
He's the name for recruiting.
Not much is going to change from what his offensive system and all of that is going to be going from Oklahoma to USC. But again, he didn't win anything when he was at Oklahoma. He didn't win any national titles. And it wasn't because he wasn't getting the top recruits. He was getting all the top recruits. So I just don't know how much this moves the needle for USC.
So I wonder. My wonder would be with him is, like I said. Granted, it fell off the cliff with Rattler not living up to the Heisman hype, but at least he came in with Heisman hype.
Right.
So he came in with Heisman hype. The last handful of quarterbacks who had there before him were Heisman hopefuls or winners.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so say you have
And
that
what's
prestige.
California produce?
It's all about
So
recruiting.
you
I'm
have that
telling you.
prestige. Now you're going to SC, and you're not. You know what I mean? Like that's almost kind of a wide open. Pac-10's probably more wide open. And if you stayed at Oklahoma and you were an Oklahoma lifer, well, then you're going to the SEC in a few years.
He was going to get demolished.
You know what I mean? So it's probably like it was pretty damn smart.
And
when
then-
he
it's 100% a smart move for him.
Yeah,
For
but I'm
him.
just saying, I think it's going to actually really
And
work
now-
out. I think they're going
Yeah.
to be a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Now
We'll
for
see.
Notre Dame, probably going to look at maybe Pete Carroll.
I know.
I think he's done. He's done in Seattle.
Yeah,
Either him
the
or
wheels are
Russell's
falling
is
off
going.
in Seattle.
Either him or Russell's going.
They're going to become like a Houston.
I believe
real quick.
Russell's gone, regardless of
Well,
how
I believe
the
they're
season
both
would have gone.
Well, they talked
they're
about
both
him
gone.
going to New York. To the
Yeah,
Giants.
actually to the Jets. I've heard his name attached to both teams in New York. I've also heard his name attached to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Talking
which I
about
don't
Russ.
like.
Panthers could use somebody right now.
Who?
Panthers.
His girlfriend's
I
not going to the
think-
Panthers.
Nah.
I think they want to be in a big market, so
Yep.
New York makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to LA or anything.
Yeah,
There's
he
no
keeps
teams
doing
out
the
there that need
unlimited
it.
videos and like from the skyscrapers out there. And
Right.
He
Exactly.
could always go to Miami.
Faux fur.
He'd go to Detroit.
Miami.
He ain't going to
Yeah,
Detroit.
go to Detroit.
No, definitely might go to Miami.
Any other comments or anything out there, topics, Ryan, that you wanted to bring up before we hang it up?
I mean, Craig Zero was asked what we do with G-Row. Unless G-Row gets a college coaching position, I think we're stuck for right now. There's
Yeah.
not going to be any changes.
Not a whole lot to do with G-Row there.
Probably not going to be any changes in the offseason even unless he bails on his own. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we can critique what Giro has done, but things have been better considering the circumstances with his play calling this year. I'd like to see him with his full gambit of offensive line and running backs out there with Lamar one more year. We'll see. I want to, before any changes happen with Giro, I want to get the contract with Lamar done, because if Lamar says in his contract negotiations that Giro's got to go, then let him have that power, because that just ultimately makes the deal signing with Lamar a little bit easier. And if Lamar doesn't want Giro to go and you make that move, now you've pissed off Lamar.
Yeah.
So I want to get that contract done and
That's a good point.
Let Lamar decide on that.
Yeah, you gotta look and see, to your point, what does he do? They had to completely change 2 weeks before the start of the season. You had to completely change what you anticipated doing with this team from an offensive scheming standpoint, because you had to go get guys in. You had two guys that knew the system at the running back, knew Lamar too, right? That's the hard part for some of these running backs. You got to know if Lamar's pulling it from you. You don't squeeze down, right? you let it go.
Was the Scherzer thing what you had wanted to ask me in the after hours, or was there something else?
No, there was one more thing that I wanted to point out with you, because you were the only one last week said that the Browns were going to win.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
but he was still almost right.
I thought it. No, I wasn't.
No, that was Drew.
I thought
in another game.
I thought exactly what Fred said. I thought the running game was getting us alive, and it didn't exist. So it was completely different than what I pictured.
I texted the group even during the game.
Lamar obviously played terrible. If they could have got any running game, we would have lost.
I said it during the game. I was like, even when we shut the running game down in the first half, I'm like, nope, Chubb's going to eat us alive in the second half.
Yeah,
and it fucking didn't happen. Nothing.
Didn't
happen.
Yeah, I did get that Detroit Lions score exactly. Their score only, though.
Yeah.
I didn't get the Bears part right.
The reason I brought it up is because all of us at one point had to do something, and you weren't here, because when we said that the Ravens would lose, we all had to eat a crow. And you've got one in front of you that has your name on it. It is your turn, my friend. You're not going to get out of
this. Eat the crow. It's whatever.
God, have we been like, not to cut them off, have we not been together like that long? It's been that long, like before that week that we were all together?
It's always been somebody. Either I've been gone, Ryan's been gone, Scott's been gone. Yeah, somebody's been missing.
There's been this is the first time in over a month that all of us have been together.
So one more thing I want to bring up, just so we talked a little bit about the Steelers stuff, but the most entertaining thing I found since this game was, I guess, while they were asking Mike Tomlin how to fix it, and he's saying we need less this garbage, they also were asking Claypool, and Claypool said, we need to get back to having fun. We need like more music at practice. Which is already funny. But then Mike Tomlin's response was so funny, because somebody said, well, this is what Claypool says, what do you say? And he said, well, Claypool, I'm paraphrasing obviously, well, Claypool is a wide receiver, so he's really good at running routes and catching passes, and I'm going to let him do that, and I'm going to take care of what happens in practice.
Stay in your lane, basically.
I was like, it was the nicest way to say fuck him and how he just shut his mouth. It was so perfect. I hate the Steelers, but Mike Tomlin's hilarious.
Yeah, I like Mike Tomlin. We all hate the Steelers for all good reasons, but I like Mike Tomlin.
His son will be one of the departures we'll be seeing shortly too. So.
Maybe not. Well, depends on what happens with that wide receiver core. But the Steelers are just a joke of what they used to be. I mean, they don't represent anything that is the toughness of the black and gold that was the Steelers curtain and everything that they've been built around for 50 plus years. They're nothing of what they were.
David's also calling out the fact that Ryan and James didn't eat crow for the Bears win. Because the two of them predicted the Bears.
We get a lot of things wrong. I mean,
we're going to be eating crow.
I think it's when it comes to the Ravens.
I'm a Maryland fan. I've gotten shit wrong forever.
That crow thing was because
every week.
For Ryan, it's just chicken.
Every week except for 5 when we win 5 games every year. Ryan gets it wrong. But just an update on predictions, because you're calling out James, but James still leading the way on predictions at 30 and 14.
And didn't I get the pick this week?
Oh, sorry, 32 and 12 on the year. Scott and I in second at 30 and 14 on the year. Ryan at 27 and 17, and Drew at 27 and 17 now. So
was
Ryan,
my pick to click this week or the week before?
You did have a pick to click
this
the
week
past
as well.
2 weeks. You tied with Fred last week.
Eat
and
that
you had
crow. What?
We'll see what happens this week. Goddamn bell.
You thought we were going to do an all-show? Hold on.
He saved it till the after hours. I'll give him
Someone
credit.
else needs to eat crow because all right before the show, everybody. They're going to be digging this shit all game. This has lasted 1 week.
Go ahead.
We held it on. We weren't
He needs
middle
the bell.
schoolers.
Somebody spent a lot of money on bells, and let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'm out. We'll see you guys next week.